What is up, Fence fam? So good to see you, virtually as it were, once again for a live Q&A Ask the Experts, plural. Today we've got with us the round 2 winner of Spend a Day with the Expert, Jason from Talen Fencing. Jason, how are you?
Good, Joe. How are you?
I'm so good. I appreciate you making the trip down.
It's a long drive.
It is a long drive.
You offered to fly us, but one of the guys that came with you, he's not a flyer.
That's okay.
He's
That's
a little bit terrified, I should say.
Well, it's a long drive from where? Where's Talen Fencing?
Talen Fencing's Boulder, Colorado. Shout out to Boulder. How's everybody doing up there?
Boulder, Colorado. Beautiful place.
Oh my God.
Beautiful area.
Gorgeous and busy.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Growing.
Yeah. The population is growing rapidly.
What do you think the population is? Just ballpark.
It's got to be, I wouldn't even know, 150.
150. So
I'm probably way off, but
but growing.
It's growing. It seems like 1 million.
Gotcha. Tell me a little bit about Talen Fencing. What do you guys do?
Tail-end fencing. Well, obviously we do some fencing, but I specialize in agricultural fencing.
Okay. Yeah.
But we do residential, commercial.
Nice.
And not as much ag fence as I'd like to, but
okay.
It's getting up there. We're getting on the board, getting our name up there. It's important. We've only been doing it about 3 years.
Okay.
So rapidly growing.
Creating a name for yourself and then building on it.
Exactly. Sort of reputation.
Nice. Yep. Very nice. So you were the round 2 winner of Win a Day with the Expert.
I am.
Let's talk a little bit about that. What did you think it was going to be before making the drive down? When you just heard about it, what did you think it was going to be?
I didn't expect what I got here, Joe. I mean, it was amazing, and I thank you and your staff, and I mean your whole crew. It was absolutely an eye opener. I mean, you've got a well-oiled crew. I mean, your guys are great, guys and gals. Excuse me. Yeah. Everybody was. I mean, so. They were just willing to give me anything and everything they knew. And I mean, I could ask anything and it didn't matter. You guys were very helpful, very nice.
And I appreciate that feedback, Jason, because that's one of the things we talk about before we have a guest in is, and they're getting used to it now. But in the beginning, it was treat them like you treat me, right? Like if they've got questions, you've got answers sort of thing. Don't hold back. If they ask you something, act like it's me asking you that thing.
Well, I was really impressed because I was like family, Joe. I mean, when I came in, it was like, here, have my seat. Or, I mean, what can I do for you? Nice to meet you. I mean, they got to know me on a personal level. They didn't, I mean, it was outside of work. They were like, so how are you? Not your business. They wanted to get to know me. I mean, it was impressive. I felt at home.
Good.
It was my home away from home.
That's definitely the goal.
It was awesome. I encourage anybody and everybody that would like to come here to definitely keep trying, because Joe said he's going to do it every
quarter.
Man, it's an amazing trip.
Well, and let's talk about that for a second. So we had dinner last night. We were talking that we get a lot of submissions for the contest, and even after we kind of whittled down and we worked through the contest, the contest submissions, we're still left with 10 or 15 really, really solid submissions. And we can only pick one.
I know, and that's a shame. I wish you could host a group of us. I mean,
that's kind of what we talked about. Like that's future plans ish.
Man, it's a lot, because I know it's a lot for you, Joe, and a lot for your staff to like stop for a day and to allow me to just rummage through and pick and poke and prod at your guys and question them till the day's end. I know it's a lot, but I can't thank you enough.
No, absolutely. And this is absolutely what we love to do. Where my point earlier was that we get some of these submissions and we can only pick one. But if you have submitted and you haven't been chosen, please submit again.
Yeah,
and it's
definitely
because you know what I mean? There were this last round 10 or 15. We could have chosen any of them. Like they met all the criteria. They all had great stories, but we could only choose one. So that's what we were talking about last night. I was like, man, I really hope we see another round of this and we see some similar names in there, because I want to bring them all in.
I know, you were saying at dinner, you're like, I wish I could just take all of them and bring them in. It's just not possible. But
well, and we're trying to figure that out, right? If it's like a group, like a summit, like a group
family reunion.
Yeah. Hey,
the Fence family reunion.
Fence family reunion.
I'm in. There we go, folks.
I love it. Yeah, like a once a year where we get 20, 30, 40 fence folks all in the same place at the same time.
I would be there.
And we just turn it into a summit, just a round robin of what's working for everybody and that sort of thing.
And a learning experience. And,
right.
Get a little friendly competition going in
sure,
there.
Sure. Well, and that's the thing is I love sharing what we do here, but in no way do we have everything figured out. You know what I mean? So
I don't think we ever will.
Well, I think that's a fair point.
Yeah,
I really do. I had said that. Well, on one of the videos of we were watching was I had made that point. Like, I think the people that you see from the outside looking in that have it all figured, you think they've got it figured out. If you quietly pulled them aside and you told them that, man, you've got this figured out and all that, I think they'd tell you, I don't have anything figured out. Like, we're getting there.
And it's the different areas too. I was talking to one of your guys, Scott.
Yeah.
He was such a help.
Good.
But, I mean, he's like, oh, we can't do that here. We have, we were talking about digging, and he's like,
sure,
it's so rocky. And he was asking me how we do it. And he was like, oh, that would never work there. And
yeah,
I mean, it's so different.
Right.
I mean, we do the same thing, but there's so many obstacles.
Well, and there's, so every market, every region is going to be different. Right. But I think if we got a group of us all in the same room at the same time, I think we would find some common ground there too.
Oh, I'm sure. Tons.
And that's really what gets me excited is, one, being able to help a large group of people at scale, and two, just the ability for my team to be in the room to learn from you guys, right? To learn from other people. Where, like, during your conversation with Scott, I bet Scott walked away with 2 or 3 nuggets there. So
I would hope so.
It worked both ways.
I grabbed a handful from him.
Good,
I mean, it was awesome. It was really good.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. I am, because I'm always nervous. Like, leading up to having someone, I say always, this is the second time. So, but both times, I've been really nervous because it's like I want to bring as much value as possible, and it's really a short, compressed, space and time.
Yeah, it's all crammed into one.
Yeah, we got a day.
But it was a day, and Joe was like, go, 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 go. I mean, it was awesome.
So during that day, we started off talking with my dad.
Yep, that was great.
Commercial and a look. So my dad is very much on paper, written, physical, everything.
I can relate to him. Because, I mean, that's what was one of my things coming here is, organization. I'm not asking you how to organize my business, but it was the process of how you guys go through it. And it was really nice to see how your dad does it.
Yeah.
Versus how you do it. Or God forbid, Sarah she is her own kind right there. That girl is amazing. She is so organized. She's got lists for lists.
Yeah.
I mean,
hers is very digital.
Very.
Right. And so that's why I wanted both of you to meet with both of them, so that you could kind of see that compare and contrast of, he is very physical. He has a filing cabinet full of old bids and current bids and work in progress. Whereas her office doesn't have a filing cabinet. It has everything is stored in that computer.
God forbid that computer. I bet she has a backup.
We do. Yeah. So you always want redundancy. So there's physical backup, and then there's cloud backup and all that, because, like you said, God forbid something happened,
she'd be lost.
Done. Like, it would take months to rebuild all of that data.
I wouldn't even don't even say it.
It's crazy. Yeah, right. Knocking on wood for sure. But I think that's an interesting look into both sides of the house. The physical versus the digital.
Yeah, and I was kind of stuck in between because I have a pocket full of papers with names and chicken scratch, and my truck looks like a Post-it board. And, I took a lot of pointers from Sarah and from your dad. It was nice. He kind of not just told me how he does it and showed me, but he dug into my business. And he was asking personal questions. He's like, don't be offended, but I just want to see where I can help you. And he did tremendously. And he dug. Yeah. I mean, he was on point for everything. He's like, well, I think, and I'm like, God, you're absolutely right.
He's really good at analyzing situations.
He's sharp.
He knows the questions to ask, and then, okay, well, when you said this, and this, what I think that means is, this final thing.
Yeah, he was really good. I mean, it was amazing.
Then we had a group lunch. So the final Friday, we've got team lunch, family lunch sort of thing, where everybody comes in. We had Mexican. We had some tacos. And,
delicious.
Yeah, we had anyone local to Springfield had Los Cabos, and it was fantastic.
It was fantastic. We had some good dinners.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So
Missouri barbecue.
Yeah, we started with Crosstown barbecue.
It was good.
It's a great start. Then we did Missouri Mike's last night.
That was delicious as well.
It really was.
I was like, oh boy.
Now it's Missouri Mike's, so we had to get there early. We had to do early dinner. but everything was on the menu and it was all good.
It was all real good. It was really good.
So don't think we only do business around here. We also
we had a little bit of playtime,
some fun time.
Yeah, we did.
And then, but during the final Friday lunch is a chance that the team all gets together and kind of recaps the month that we're just closing out. Talks a little bit about the month coming up, that sort of thing. I think it was important for you guys to be a part of that, really, to get a sense for what that looks like. Maybe
I'm definitely going to implement that too as well. I mean, I know I should be talking with my crew and my staff, regularly, but that was a given point to where you were adamant about, business stops for a minute. We need to gather in group and make sure we're all on the same page and headed in the right direction. And give your attaboys. And man,
that's right.
I thought that was never going to end. Your guys are amazing. They're like,
well,
they were full attaboys. I mean, your crew is on top of it.
We've got it fairly dialed in, and that's not a pat on the back. That's just me saying we've spent a lot of dedicated time analyzing the team, the different members of the team, trying to figure out what does a potential future teammate look like, that sort of thing. I think
all very much a part of it. I mean, there wasn't a single guy that you had or gal that just sat there. I mean, everybody had input. Everybody
was
a team player. Of that meeting. They're all team players.
Yeah, well, and that's a critical part of the meeting is hearing from everyone, because as companies grow, there's a very real possibility that team members start growing apart, or different departments or divisions start growing apart. It'd be really easy for the folks in the office to start losing touch with the folks out in the field, especially as we're starting another business later this year. It's going to be, they're going to be offsite, a different location. It's going to be very possible for everyone to start losing track. So that's my hope, is that once a month we able to bring everyone together. Everyone gets to talk to each other, meet each other for if we have a new team member on board, that sort of thing, but keep everybody connected.
And they seem to be connected because they don't hesitate to ask somebody else for help, or I saw your sister in the shop helping move panels. I mean, she was right in there.
Yeah.
It just shows that everybody does everything. They have their specialized places,
right?
But they're not afraid, or they're not afraid to say, "Hey, let me give you a hand," or "Let me help."
And that's one thing we kind of hit on yesterday during the meeting is, again, so as we grow and as we add team members, it's going to be very easy for people to specialize, and we want them to specialize in something, but they also need to generalize in everything.
Of course,
it's.
As you call it, the Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, the Swiss Army knife. That's exactly right. Is because it's going to become really easy for people to specialize. And when they do that, it could turn into, well, that's not what I do. I do this or that. And I'm not saying we have that now. I think we're blessed in that we don't. But I think we need to talk about it and remind it so that if somebody does
keep it on the board there,
see that. Yeah, that's right.
No, I didn't see any of that. And it was good to see that.
Good. So it sounds like your trip was successful.
Oh my God, I don't want to go right now because I could stay for like a week in your facility. I mean, it's awesome. It's laid out nice. Your process is, I mean, you've got it pretty dialed in, Joe.
It's nice to hear you say that, because, like, from my perspective, I'm like, this thing's held together with bubble gum and duct tape.
Yeah, I like my fences. I'm kidding.
Sure. I'll tell you what. So last week, Jason, I did not do a very good job at all of saying hello to the folks at home and interacting with them. So let's say hi to a few folks here.
Let's do. Sorry if I look down, Joe, but I can't see that far. So I got my phone over here so I can see who's here.
You got it. So Roger Bencourt was right in the beginning. Actually, he was 30 minutes early. Said, if you want to charge his phone up, there's only 30 minutes left. See you soon. Roger, always good to see you here.
It's always first.
He is. He's there ahead of time.
I don't know him, but hi, Roger.
Yeah, Roger. He's a solid fan. He really is.
He is. He's there every Saturday.
Sean Brown says hi from Houston, Texas. Sean, hello.
Look at there.
Roger, I'm going to butcher. Jason, I'm going to butcher this name. Sinapati. I know I butchered that. I'm sorry, but. A recent fan of the show. I say recent fan. I've started seeing him in the comments more and more. Says, "G'day, mate. G'day." Iris is here from Georgia. Iris, hello. Welcome to the show. Glad you're joining us. And then he says, "Since I'm Samoan, and then I can only guess this is a greeting in Samoan. Greetings to you." I'm not going to even try it because I would do it a disservice. I know I would. And I would probably end up saying something that wasn't intended.
Yeah. You'd have to beep it out.
Now, I think you know Luke here. Luke says hello from Longmont, Boulder, Colorado.
I hope he's not in Longmont. Luke is supposed to be in Boulder working.
Maybe that's why I put that. Longmont. I'm at Boulder, Colorado. That's where I'm at.
Thanks for coming in, Luke.
Senpai says they're from Brisbane, Australia. Brisbane, I think.
Brisbane.
I always heard that. All right. Welcome from across the globe. It is 1 a.m.
Oh.
And I think half cut probably means he's been in his picture a little bit, maybe one or two, and that's okay. Hey. If it's 1 a.m., it's your time. So
that's right.
You do you. I'm glad you joined us, to be honest with you. Stevie Boy Billings says, "Good afternoon, Joe from Dublin, Ireland."
I've been there.
You have?
Beautiful.
I want to go.
It is beautiful.
I've got this grand plan in my mind of D&J Projects is another show that we're really friendly with, that we're if shows could be friends, our two shows would be friends, I hope. But I bring those guys on.
They plug you and you plug them. Yeah, I've seen them.
And so they're over in the UK, over in Nottingham. And so I have this grand plan in my mind. I'm going to go over there and visit them, and then just really take a week, 2 weeks, and just kind of cover the whole area over there. I'd love to see it.
I did that. I did the southern. I flew in to, I forget, but I did Cork, and I did the whole southern.
Nice.
I did all of it at 10 days.
Okay.
Just rented a car and drove from city to city to town and stayed and seen a bunch of castles.
Nice.
It is beautiful there.
See, that's the thing is I would love to see is the history, the rich history of
it's worth it.
I mean, it's a whole different version of history, not version, but it's a lot older history. You know what I mean? You get to see, we have history here, but our history is a lot newer than the European history. UK history.
In 2015.
Okay.
So, I know things change, but
sure.
A lot of things I saw there, they would not allow here. Like the castles where the stairs are this wide. And OSHA would have a fit.
Right. Yeah. Safety regulations might be a little bit lax.
Yeah, a little bit.
Which is probably for the better, honestly. It's but let's see. So Curtis Hale is here from Hot Springs, Arkansas. Good morning, Curtis. Glad to have you. Jackson says, "Hi, Dad." Hello, Jackson. How are you, buddy? Listen to your mom. Be a good listener. Be a good helper. Let's see. So Stevie Boy and Iris are having a conversation. Actually, so Stevie Boy said, "Joe, could your guest move his mic closer?" Oh, there we go.
Sorry about that.
All right. Stevie Boy, good looking out. Good looking out.
Absolutely.
Very good. And Roger says, "Hello, Jason."
Hello, Roger.
Defense Industry Podcast says, "Good morning, guys, from the Iowa-Illinois border on the Mississippi." Good morning, Dan.
Morning.
What are you doing on the Mississippi? Maybe, what do you think he's doing? Maybe fishing?
I would hope so. It's Saturday.
Saturday. And now the weather up there, Iowa-Illinois border, maybe the weather hasn't hit up there yet. It's nasty all through Missouri right now. We've got a lot of storms. So, Dan, I hope it's doing well for you. All right. I think we're caught up. I think we've said hello to everyone. If we haven't said hello, let me know in the comments below.
Absolutely.
So let's do this, guys. I really want this to kind of be an interactive conversation.
Sure.
So Jason and I, but also you guys at home, I want this all to be like one big virtual conversation. If you guys have questions, drop them in the comments below. Or if you guys have comments or suggestions, drop those in the comments below. So Jason, we talked about that, what you're kind of expecting and the experience, that sort of thing. What would you say, if I put you on the spot and I said, what are 3 key takeaways from yesterday's interaction? What would you say they were?
Oh, man. I don't know that I could name 3 or to pinpoint. There was just so much to take in. I'll think of them while we're talking. I
put you on the spot a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit, but I'll think about that for a second.
I think we had some good conversation revolving around, operations, kind of procedures, that sort of thing.
That was huge for me.
And that's something that Sarah is phenomenal, and especially documenting it.
Oh, Mike. Yeah.
I'm good at inventing stuff. I'm like, I think we should do this from this way from now on.
Yeah, we talked about that.
But she's really good at documenting it.
And I took a lot from Sarah, but sorry, Sarah, but I don't think I can implement it. She's out of this world at what she does. And I just, for one, I can't type.
we need like a duplicator machine where we just duplicate Sarah like a dozen times.
I will take 2.
We just take over the world.
Oh my God.
Take over the world. And that takeover would be well documented.
And so would the residential side of fencing.
Well, and I think, yeah, so what Sarah does for us is she handles the residential side of the house and does a phenomenal job at it.
She does.
But she's very technology driven.
Very.
Right? Which helps documentation. So like she has her onboarding documentation for bringing on like an admin is 8 or 10 pages, and it's screenshots and flow charts and all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, she is something else. That's all I could say. It blows my mind at how and her process is in her. I mean, the way just the tabs she keeps and
that's the thing. Like, she's got these Excel sheets or Google. Yeah, she's got these spreadsheets that have tabs on tabs on tabs. Each one of them interacts with the other one and
roadmaps.
It's crazy for me to watch. Well, and when we were sitting there, I was she had her computer and she was kind of sharing some stuff, and I was like, "Wait a minute, what's that?" She's like, "Oh, this." I was like, "That's amazing! I'm glad you not invented that, but I'm glad you brought that on board."
You're like, I haven't even seen that yet.
Yeah. She's great at creating, like I said, process and documentation, but also, if I want to pat myself on the back, I think one thing I'm good at is just giving the reins to go do stuff like that.
Absolutely.
Right. Like we don't need to ask permission. We don't, if you know it works and you want to try it, go try it. Sort of thing.
That brings back, your team. They're in the right place and they do their job very well. So you let go. I mean, not let go, but you trust their decisions.
You give them a little bit of room.
Yep.
A little bit of room to maneuver. And that's one thing we had talked about yesterday was kind of putting each team member in the place that they enjoy the most, right? Or that they excel in.
That's one of my points there is, put the person in the right place.
Yeah. Well, and let them try different things.
Right.
So we've got team member Dalton that he was a material handler. So everyone out in the shop starts as like material handler and general helper. And then so he had tried a lot of different things with some other guys that got hired on recently. And then I say recently, Dalton's been with us for quite a while. Anyway, in one of our Final Friday meetings, we had talked about the growth of the company, kind of where we're headed, what divisions I see us having or departments I see us having. And we're talking about pre-staining. Yep. And Dalton kind of raised his hand. He goes, "Well, I really enjoy pre-staining pickets. If that is a full-time job, I would love for that to be my full-time job."
And he's all about it.
He is.
And he does a fantastic job.
And his skills, what we've come to learn about Dalton is his skill set is attention to detail, and he's very process driven, just as a person, which lends itself really well to pre-staining pickets.
It does, and they look great.
Yeah, the pre-stain product he puts out is really, really nice. But what's funny is right after he had said that, another team member of ours, Eric, said, "Well, you can give that to Dalton because I don't enjoy it."
Eric wanted no part of it. He's like,
he doesn't.
He likes it. He can have it.
Eric really excels at fulfillment.
But Eric is not afraid to sing.
Right. No.
He's a team player.
That's a great point. In that if Dalton went out and said, "Hey, I need some help," and Eric, you're at loose ends right now. Could you help me? Hey, Eric, of course, would dive into it. Of course. Now, he wouldn't enjoy it as much as Dalton did.
But he's a team player.
That's right. Now, what Eric excels in is e-commerce fulfillment. That's an area that we're going deep into right now. We're in the middle of actually. So this week, in this week's video. So for those of you just joining the channel, so we're changing the format of the channel to more of like a week in review, which you got a sneak peek of.
I did. Oh my God. Lunch. And Braden.
Yeah. Oh, talk about putting the right person in the right place.
Oh my God. Don't brag too much because somebody's going to want to steal him.
Right. Well, we can't let people know too much.
That guy's amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. But so anyway, we're changing the format into like a week in review look at Ozark Fence. And then one of the things that we showed this week or recorded this week was we've outgrown our fulfillment room. And so we're bringing in more equipment, stuff like that. But Eric excels at that.
Yes.
He loves it so much. And that's his area of specialty while also being a generalist. Yep. Like just to kind of wrap this all back around. And then I'm kind of going through my head of our newer hires. So John excels at fabrication. So he wanted to try his hand at welding. He is very good at it. He's continuing to learn very quickly.
He's catching on.
So that's his area of kind of specialty. Jason's kind of our out in the yard. So our material handler, truck unloader, truck loader, that sort of thing. He's got the yard locked down.
Looks good.
It looks
even
sharp.
driving by it, there's not heaps or nothing.
No,
everything's placed in the right place. And
well, and what's fun, I'm glad to hear you say that, because in my mind, I see everything out there. I'm like, this is so unorganized. We have to get the wire with the wire and the pipe with the pipe.
It looks good.
We're one thing that you guys will start seeing in the show is we're putting pipe racks up. So to try to get pipe up in the air and off the ground to kind of unlock access back into some wire areas for the forklift. But so from my mind, I see all that and I'm like, oh, this is chaos. You know what I mean?
Yeah. From outside, no.
Good.
It's pretty well organized.
Well, that's Jason. Jason's keeping the yard squared away.
He does a great job.
Of course, Matt kind of is the ringleader out there. He's in charge of facilities, building and grounds, and also he supervises the fabrication shop, that sort of thing. So he keeps all those different positions headed in the right direction, sort of thing. Yep. Chase is on the Isuzu crew, so he's really good at. He wants to be out in the field. He wants to be out in the field, on a not a limited basis, but typically the Isuzu crew do projects that are a day or less. Repairs, that sort of thing.
And it's nice to have guys like that want to be out in the field, because there's a lot of guys that want to be in this industry that aren't good in the field, so to speak.
Sure. Well, that's not where their passion is.
Right.
And that's okay.
Yeah, and that's absolutely okay.
And that's part of the problem that we've seen is when you have a team member that doesn't have a passion for something and you try to force them in there, square peg and a round hole sort of thing.
Yep. You don't get the results you're looking for.
Very good way of putting it.
Yep.
Yeah. They're not happy. You're not happy because you're not getting the results you expected.
Right.
So so Chase has found that he likes being out in the field, doing repairs, projects that are one day or less, construction panel setup, delivery, that sort of thing. Man, the problem is once you start naming people, you forget people.
I know.
So Scott are on the wood.
Apologize to anybody on the crew that doesn't get named out there.
Right. Well, now I've got to do my best. So Scott are out in the field doing our production. So they're our in-house production crew, installation crew. And then we're bringing on a few new team members for them to try to grow that crew even more. Inside the office, you've got Candace running retail
Candace
wholesale.
Up front. Yeah.
She's
on the ball.
Phenomenal.
She is.
Yeah, she's already outsold. She's almost outsold her entire year already.
Yeah.
Like last year's year already.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw that.
She is fantastic. And
she's excited about it too. Yeah.
That's the thing is that's one thing that she's passionate about.
I know.
Even in her,
it shows.
Even in her personal life, she does like retail arbitrage. So she'll go find items that are selling more elsewhere and make money on the difference there, right? So she'll buy it low, sell it high, sort of thing, which is basically what she's doing on the fencing side. So it's something that she enjoys. Of course, we talked about Dad and Sarah.
Yep.
You got to meet Kai.
Hello, Kai. If you're out there, he's a
hoot.
He is. He's funny.
Kai works with us on Fridays for about 4 hours a day on Friday.
Talk about a guy who loves his job.
I tell you what, he really gets a kick out of it. He does.
Loves it.
And he's kind of a generalist for us. So he'll do paper shredding or vacuuming, and he's very happy to do it.
He is. Yeah, he is funny. Boy, he loves what he does. He loves everybody too.
And he doesn't let his jokes go. Like
I know.
Once he gets a joke, he doesn't let it go.
It's good.
But and then of course, like you said, Braden doing the content creation bit here.
Braden's amazing.
Excelling at it. So yeah, we watched the first episode of the new format, which you guys will be seeing. Braden, what did we say, like a month and a half?
I'm excited for everybody else.
Maybe a little bit sooner. So
very well done.
I'm excited. Yeah, exceptionally well done. It is. And so what the format there is really giving you guys kind of an inside look at what went on in the business this week, what problems we had. Like I
was going to say, not just the good, but brought in some bad.
Yeah. We touched on, we had a little bit of with some crappy stuff. That is correct. We had some sewer issues that got resolved. We also had like the HBA home show, kind of a look into that. It gives kind of a look also at like how we set a booth up, that sort of thing.
Right.
Which our booth setups is going to be changing now anyway. That was the last year. So I'm glad we got to document it. This was the last year that we did a full-blown 50-foot wide booth. But yeah, so then this week's was a look into Eric and I packaged up 1,000 2.5-inch brace bands to get sent out, 110 packs. We documented final Friday here. Anyway, I'll give you guys kind of a look at what we're doing at Ozark Fence, what we're up to.
Sure.
Let's see who we haven't said hello to. Frank says, "Hi, Frank from Boulder. Putting my tools down for a minute, and I'm listening. I'll pick them back up once this is done."
Hi, Frank. He's my guy.
You know Frank? Okay,
yep.
All right.
Very talented builder.
Frank, welcome. We appreciate you guys giving Jason kind of the time to sneak away for a little bit.
Yes, thank you guys. Holding down the fort.
Absolutely. Stevie Boy says he's D&J's biggest fan. Well, Stevie, I have to disagree because I'm a pretty big fan too.
Joe is.
So, I mean, I don't mean to argue with you, but I'm just saying it could be me. I could be the biggest fan. I don't know. We'll have to have a contest of fandom.
Getting a fan club going.
Yeah, that's right. That is right. Roger at a point said, not just having the right person in the right seat, it's having the right person in the right seat on the right bus.
True.
Not mine. Good. So that's a good point. Is a person aligned with your mission? I think that's where we're getting at with on the right bus. So the right person in the right seat, but they're on board with what the mission is too.
Right. That they see the main stop.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody's headed for that place.
And
to be successful is one. I mean,
yeah, no, absolutely. And that's one thing that it took me a little while to figure out. And I just figured out a few months ago that I wasn't doing a great job of explaining to everyone the direction we were headed. So that's why on the whiteboard in the conference room, I've got kind of my idea of where we're headed. Hey, this is the kind of the different departments of the company. This is where I see us growing. This is how I see us growing. And I also make the point, like, this is very much in dry erase. So this is subject to change.
I was going to mention that. It wasn't like this is the way it's going and that's it. It was like, this is what I see. What do you guys think?
Right. Bingo. That's big. Because, I mean, I'm one person with one perspective, right? So why not get 14 or 15 perspectives on looking at the same problem or the same growth strategy, whatever we're looking at? Because, I mean, everyone's here for a reason.
Right.
I value their opinion.
I know.
So
I saw that.
But that was a lesson that took me a little while to figure out, because what I was doing previously is I was having like one-on-one conversations. Hey, here's what I think we're going. And then the next day I'd talk to someone else. Hey, here's what I think we're doing. But I wasn't giving each person the entire vision. So we have an advisory council here, which is basically the heads of all the departments. So it's me, my dad, Sarah, Matt, and Candace, and Scott. So kind of the head of each side of the house. And one thing, and when I realized this, I was like, oh, okay, well, we're headed this direction. And Sarah's great at speaking up. So she's like, Joe, I don't know that you've told all of us the whole plan. I think each one of us, we've been talking, and each one of us knows a little piece of your plan, like as it pertains to us.
Right.
But we don't know the big picture. We don't know where the ship's headed. Okay.
And Sarah can quote you. Where the ship
is headed. She can. But yeah, so that was kind of my wake up moment. Is I've been having little conversations with each one of my people, but I never had one conversation with all of them.
Yep.
Say, hey, this is kind of our 5-year outlook. I think it's hard to have more than a 5-year outlook, because anything beyond 5 years, I really think is like educated guessing.
Things could change drastically.
That's right. That's that. Well, and things that are outside your control.
Right.
World events that we're seeing unfold.
Fire.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we had in Boulder. We were headed in one direction and we had to stop everything because we had people that needed our help. We had animals out there that needed to come back from the fairgrounds that were going home that didn't have fence up. And,
great point.
We had to get a crew together to just help the fire victims. So things do change, and they can change overnight.
Oh, that's a great point, because 2 weeks prior to that, your guys' mission was probably a lot different.
It was a lot different.
So I think that probably speaks to the ability to change quickly too.
Right. Adapt. Yeah. You have to adapt to your surroundings.
I think that's a great point. I really do. I mean, if anything, our business forecast, like I said, is written in dry erase.
Absolutely on a dry erase board, because you have to be ready at all times. I mean,
well, and you need to be able to take advantage of opportunities too. If you see something show up, if the companies that are really stuck in their ways and see it go, well, that's not really what we do. Right. They might miss out on a great opportunity.
And it's not just the opportunity. It's helping of your local people.
Well, absolutely. Taking care of your community.
Yeah, absolutely. Being a part of the community, giving back as well too.
I'm a massive fan of that, because I mean, if you think about it, our community takes care of us as business people, right? By doing business with us, continuing to support us.
Yep.
So why wouldn't we take care of the community that is in turn taking care of us?
Yeah, it's not just about being a fencing company,
right?
It comes down to just being human.
Well, because we live in this community too,
right?
Like we're neighbors,
absolutely,
in sometimes in a grander scale. But yeah, I mean, we're all living in the same community. We're all going through similar experiences, and you would like to hope if you were in some sort of similar situation that they would be there to help you.
Exactly. Yep.
We kind of saw this whole give and take yesterday when here at the company we needed a couple really odd hinges. We needed a couple 6 5/8 bulldog hinges. For us, that's odd, right? So for us, most of our fittings cap out at about 4 inches, but we had a customer with a 28-foot single swing gate that needed a 6 5/8 pair of bulldog hinges. Well, we thought we had them. We had one,
right?
And I absolutely understand the logic that where there is one, there are two.
It should be.
You buy these things in pairs,
right?
The other one,
it's like your gloves, Joe. You always have a right hand and not the left hand,
right?
So you know it's somewhere, but but where you don't know.
Yeah, well, and we'll find it as soon as we don't need it.
Exactly.
So customers coming Monday to pick these gates and hinges up. So which means Tuesday I'll trip over it somewhere.
It'll be on your desk.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Walk in Tuesday morning, like,
paper.
Oh,
there it is. But the point is you had somebody step up.
Yeah, I reached out to another fencing contracting company here in town, said, hey, you happen to have 6 5/8 Cox hinges or Bulldogs one? And he said, actually, I think I do. Let me go look through some bags and get back with you.
That's awesome.
Sure enough, he did. And so that's obviously great in its own right. But
it wasn't a dangle ding. Like, right. Hey, look what I have, Joe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I told him, I said, I'll send a guy over with a check. You probably prefer checks over credit cards, right? Because you don't want to pay the fees, right? He goes, no, let's just do this. Why don't you bring me 2 back? So put 2 on your weekly order. And when those get brought to you by the supplier, bring them out to me. Just trade. I'll put these on loan to you. Just bring me 2 back.
That's a team player.
It is. And that's community taking care of community.
Looking out. Yeah.
Right. And and it is the illustration of what we've been talking about, that competition isn't necessarily cutthroat, right? Like, are we competitors?
Sure.
We're doing the same thing in the same market, but we live in such a big market that there is room for all of us.
Yes, there's enough business to go around.
And we should be here for each other. If no one else is here to help each other, we should be here.
Yeah, that's why I said family reunion.
Yeah, exactly.
Get to know your people, get to know your guys.
Yeah. Well, because we know the struggles that we go through,
right?
That each other goes through. I mean, I'm sure this gentleman had been in a position before where he shared with me that he had, because when he said bring 2 back, I said, are you sure? Like, I don't mind buying them. And he had shared with me, he goes, no, years ago, I needed a bunch of gate clips. Your dad had them. So he just gave me a bag of gate clips and told me to bring a bag back. It's like, oh, no kidding. I hadn't heard that story. So I was like, interesting.
That's looking out, though. That's where we need to be.
Well, because I needed these hinges, right? They had to be here on Monday. And so then we were kind of scrambling for a little bit. Can we overnight them?
Imagine what you'd have to pay for that. I mean, just the shipping alone.
It'd be
getting it a first class ticket over here. I mean, good Lord.
Yeah, it would probably be $150, $200. Just in our limited experience shipping things, overnight is wildly expensive, especially for what these things weigh. And it's like an odd size. Anyway, it would have been expensive.
And who knows how long he's had them on the shelf or.
Right. And that's the thing is, so he shared with me, they had actually just come back from a project. Oh. So the project changed a little bit and they had some fittings to bring back. And so they were actually just sitting in a bag getting ready to be put back into inventory.
Everybody's got that junk drawer, so to speak.
That's exactly right.
Let me look over here.
Well, that's kind of the joke, right? Because you call someone looking for something, what you think is odd. In our case, is 6 5/8, Bulldog or Cox hinge. We were okay with either one of them. He goes, yeah, I got them. And the question is, why?
Yeah.
Why do you got a couple of those laying around?
Yep.
And we're the same. Like, we've got just some weird stuff laying around. So what I saw the other day, where was I? I was out in the shop somewhere. Anyway, a post cap that had 2 cups coming off of it. So it was for like a terminal post and a horse head on it. And it was like really old school. Like, why do we have this? Where did it come from? Right,
yeah.
right. It had to have come from a fence we took down or something. And one of the guys thought it was interesting
and just held on to it.
But now, if we get one of the fence fans say, "Hey, we're looking for a post cap with a horse head on it,"
Got one.
I got it.
You know where to find it, people.
Now, on that one, I don't think we'd be able to say, "Just bring me one back when you get resupplied."
Yeah, I don't think
the chances of that are pretty slim to none. But anyway, the point is, we've been saying it on the channel, right? That we're all kind of in this thing together. The fence fam needs to be here for each other, and I got to see it firsthand Friday, and so grateful.
It's awesome. I'm very grateful.
Left Roger's comment up there for that entire conversation.
Yep.
Oh, Josh is here. Aloha fence, how we roll. Aloha, Josh. I assume it's Josh, but aloha to you guys. Good to see you guys here. So, Jason, tell me a little bit about the Boulder market. So you guys are from Boulder, Colorado. Where, yep. For those that might be geographically disinclined, where is Boulder, say, in relation to like the Denver market?
We're about 30 miles northwest.
Okay. So closer to the mountains?
Yes. We're right at the base of the mountains.
Got it.
We're right by NCAR, like National Center for Atmospheric Research.
Oh, yeah.
Or everybody knows the atomic clock.
Yeah.
That's in Boulder.
That's you guys.
Yep, that's us.
So do you guys see then like a lot of like suburb type neighborhoods then, like suburb of Denver sort of neighborhoods on the residential side? Or?
Yeah, we deal with a lot. The thing I noticed out here is you got huge backyards.
Yeah.
Property and I mean plenty of room to work. We're crammed in on some places.
Is that right?
So like you can barely move. You can't barely get a shovel in. I mean,
no kidding.
Yeah, but we go from that to just a few miles away. We're working on 30 acres or 35 acres, which you got room to spread out. And
yeah.
So we deal with a lot of different areas. Louisville, Lafayette, they're close. Louisville is part of the ones that had the fire.
Yeah.
Devastating. But we deal with a variety. I mean, from mountain homes, yep. rocky ground to easy digging, you know.
Well, and one thing we were talking about yesterday, you said, yeah, we've got this project and it's 1,000 foot up. And so you guys deal in like elevation changes too, as a normal day to day.
We're a mile high.
Yeah.
So we're at 5,280 feet.
Good grief.
And we could go, 8,000 and up to 8,000, 9,000, 10,000, and then come down and be at only a mile high. But to some people, it's a little rough altitude change. And
yeah. Well, so my wife's sister's husband was based in Denver. So my brother-in-law was based in the Denver area for a while, and we would go visit a few times a year. And it takes you about half a day to kind of acclimate to the altitude.
It really does. It takes its toll on you. I mean, just the altitude will get you.
Absolutely. Yep. It is very real. Now, it's also really nice because in the summertime, you guys don't have much humidity. It's pretty dry.
It's dry. We don't really have a lot of rain either.
Sure.
And our snow, I mean, I love Colorado for that reason. If you don't like the weather, just wait 5 minutes.
So here's a funny thing. I really feel that most areas have that saying. So we say that here in Missouri. We're like, if you don't like the weather, just wait a few minutes. I think it's kind of applicable all over the place.
I'm sure it is, but I mean, we could wake up in the morning and the guys are like, yeah, stay off. It's snowing. I'm like, just hold on. Wait 2 hours. Let's see it. And then by lunchtime, you're in a t-shirt.
So I have the opposite story. So we were in Denver visiting family, and we were going to go up to Estes Park. So we're going from Denver up to Estes, up in the mountains, and it was a beautiful day, sun shining, not a cloud in the sky. And it took, I don't know, half hour to get to the foothills and all that. So we're driving, and right as we get to the foothills, a little flicker of snow, like a little dusting of snow. All right, well, this could make it really pretty.
It is. It's a change in weather. It's 4 seasons.
Well, by the time we got up into the mountains, it was dumping snow. It was a blizzard. And so we got to this. So in Missouri, we don't really shut down highways or interstates or anything. We got to a checkpoint and they said, all right, guys, listen, we're getting ready to shut this. So where are you headed? And we told them we're headed to Estes Park. And they said, all right, well, do you think you can get there? And we were in a 4-wheel drive vehicle. So, and with someone from the area. So he goes, I think we've got it. I said, okay. We are shutting this highway behind you.
Just so you know.
Yeah, this is a one-way road now.
You're the only people up there.
That's right. And that was such a wild feeling. But we went from sunshine to a dusting of snow to closing down a
Getting
highway
pounded with snow. Yeah.
in an hour,
Yep.
an hour and a half, something like that.
You can go from snowballs to swimming pool in a couple hours.
Yes,
you really can.
Yes.
Yep.
That was very wild to me. I mean, I
Yeah.
hadn't seen the weather change like nearly, and we don't get that much snow here in Southwest Missouri anyway. So to see snow measured in feet was wild.
Yeah, I've seen a 70-degree change in weather in one day.
70 degrees.
70.
That is wild.
It's amazing.
But I tell you what, like I said, I love visiting in the summer. I love visiting in the summer.
Very beautiful. So. Well, actually, people don't take what I say. Colorado, that's horrible. Don't
don't come.
Don't come.
It's all full.
You'll hate it.
What? So no humidity, but also for whatever reason, very few bugs.
Not a whole lot.
Yeah,
not a whole lot. We have our seasons with the moths but
as far as like mosquitoes and stuff like that,
not like out
less than here. Yeah,
because we're dry.
Yep, less place for them to breed and all that.
Yep.
But anyway, so that's the weather talk for Colorado. But beautiful place. But I tell you what, so we were talking about building codes yesterday too. That was one thing I noticed too, was that there are some incredibly strict building codes out there as far as materials that can be used, how it's presented to the street. I saw one of the nicest looking Walmarts I've ever seen in my life in Denver, because it was a beautiful building because it had to be.
It has to be on. Yeah,
to be code
appearance. Yeah, they have a lot of. Well, yes, that's all I can say.
Yeah,
Their code book is way different than like here.
Oh, yeah. So here we have basically structural codes. Like, listen, do you promise this thing's not going to fall down? Yeah, then
you're good. We're good.
You're good. So, but over there, like, it is very much aesthetically driven. Yes. It needs to, which is nice.
The type of grass you use and the type of material you use, and
which probably impacts fencing.
Well, I don't know if you have it out here, but there a lot of the GCs, they set what type of fence you can use, what color you can use for a development.
Oh, no kidding.
So yeah, I did one fence that had to be Buff Tech.
Okay.
I mean, as everybody knows, Buff Tech is a pretty good fence. I mean, it's expensive.
Sure.
And the gentleman was quite upset with me, and I'm like, it's not my fault here. I mean, I know it's a hefty price, but the GC is the one who set
it.
But he sets the color, the height, the style.
Okay.
Just because
for
of the
entire development
for the area, based on the price of housing.
Sure. So, it's based on the price of housing. Really?
I believe so. Yeah, because they don't want certain fence styles in certain neighborhoods, and they don't let too many different fence styles.
Yeah, they want one similar style.
Yeah, they give you a couple options, but that's about it.
So here in Southwest Missouri, we see that sometimes in residential areas where the homeowner association will say, but typically they'll say, 6 foot privacy. So they're not really going to specify brand or anything or color.
Right.
But like I said, seeing what I've seen in the Denver metro area, like I could see that. They want a very common look, or not common look, but they want a consistent look.
Correct.
Which driving through town looks really nice.
It really does look pretty. I mean, when you have everything's so similar, but not like identical, but, like repetitive, but just everything it fits in.
Like there's a common theme.
Right. There is. That's what they like.
And I'm telling, like I said, as a visitor, I think it works. It looks really nice.
Well, we talked about that because you asked me about chain link.
Right.
And I'm like, I don't do a whole lot of chain link because they don't allow it.
Sure. There's not a lot of places you can use chain link.
Right.
Yeah. It makes sense, right? But as someone that's getting ready to manufacture chain link, I don't like.
Yeah, you didn't want to hear that.
No, we're gonna need to talk to the Denver metro area about this.
I'll put a note.
There are some nice chain links. Like there's really nice black coated chain link.
I've seen that.
It could look really nice.
It could look sharp.
We'll have to call Denver up sometime. Just have a talk with them about.
Let me know how that goes.
I'll keep you up to date on that. So tell me about your work here. So Denver, Colorado. I had to think. We talked about snow being measured in feet. Tell me about your guys's. What does your guys' year look like?
It's pretty smooth sailing for fencing. When I started this, I took some extra work doing snow removal.
Sure.
My guys hate me for that, but I wanted to keep my guys busy. I was nervous doing this, and I'm like, well, what if we don't have work? I needed to have something on the board.
Yes.
We fence year round.
Nice.
Year round.
Nice.
Because
so no shutdown for the winter or anything like that.
No.
Nice.
And we were blessed with the whole COVID incident. I mean, we didn't slow down a beat.
No kidding.
No, we were busy the entire time.
I like to hear that. Well, and that kind of makes sense because as I'm thinking about this, so my brother-in-law that was stationed over there, he was kind of on, in like the intelligence type sector. But he was sharing with us that the reason all of these intelligence gathering places are typically in the Denver metro area is this like the third highest, what is it? The third highest days of clear weather in the country.
I
I
believe
probably
it.
didn't say that correctly.
But I know exactly what you mean. But
yeah,
yes,
the third least cloudy city in the country.
days of sunshine.
Yeah, days of sunshine. There you go. Perfect. Solar panels everywhere.
It's amazing at all the new developments coming up that the roofs are filled with solar.
Well, because like I said, you're the third sunniest city in the country, so it stands to reason.
Yep, they have some developments that they rent their roofs. They own the house, but they rent the roofs to solar panel companies.
Really?
So they every house has a percentage of solar on top of it, and they get their utilities for free. That's part of their deal.
No kidding.
Yeah. So they trade their rooftop access, their roof access to
use of the roof.
Yep, for free
for utilities.
Utilities.
No kidding.
Yep.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yep. And in Boulder, you can't on the remodel deals and all this. It has to be a certain percentage of a new build or a remodel has to have a certain percentage of solar. They have to have like
as a requirement.
As requirements, a designated plug on the front of the house for electric cars, even if you don't own one.
Really?
Yes. It's part of the code.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That
just shows how things are so different. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm still trying to comprehend that. Yeah. So if I remodeled my house, even though we don't have electric vehicles, if we remodeled so much of it, there would have to be an electric outlet.
Dedicated line for like an electric car, even if you don't own it. Yep.
Because maybe the next person does, I guess. They want it ready to go.
That's where they're headed with the town.
Interesting. So they're trying to kind of incentivize.
Yep, they're steering it. Yep.
Interesting.
It's crazy.
Unreal. Let's see. Roger says, you guys can have some of our fleas, ticks, roaches, rats, and mice
no,
if
thanks.
you want. Yeah. Roger, I don't know that you didn't present that offer nearly like you should have. I don't know how you would have presented that, but you basically gave him all the worst insects. Like you got to trade off some good stuff in there too.
You can take our skunks and coyotes and mountain lions. And
here's the thing. So here in Missouri, so we have all those. We have skunks. We now have mountain lions that are ranging up from Arkansas. Bobcats, so my sister recently purchased my granddad's property. It's a bit of property north of town.
Nice.
And she had the trail cams of bobcats just roaming around, and they're healthy.
I know. My dad had one under his porch while I was over his house one day, and I got a video of it, and they're getting a little frisky.
Right.
They're getting real close. And they're a good size. They're eating right.
Yeah. Yeah. And you guys, we have bears, but not like you guys have bears. Like our bears are not nearly the size of your bears.
Man, we've got some monsters. I was on the news one time. We had a bear in my backyard.
Really?
Yeah. And the animal control came out and they were like, well, yep, sure do have a bear up there. Well, we'll see you later. And he said, oh, it's just a little guy. He was like 300, 400 pounds, a little guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Just a little guy.
Just a little guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He would just maul you completely, but
don't worry about it. We'll see you later. Let us know if he's a hassle. Well, he's stuck in my tree. Yes.
Well, I'm letting you know he's a hassle.
Right now he is. Yeah. He's right up there.
Getting ready to be, I guarantee it.
That's crazy.
So does any of that come into play when you're talking about fence?
Yes. Boulder's big on, how Boulder, well, you don't know how Boulder is. It's kind of hippie-ish sometimes.
Okay.
But people like their outdoors. They like their gardens.
Yeah.
And they love the animals, but the two don't mix.
Yeah.
The deer jumping fence and eating all the garden. And so we do a lot of deer fence.
Okay.
And it's weird. It's in town, in Boulder, you can go up to 7 feet without a permit.
No kidding.
Right.
That's nice.
But people don't want that because they like their neighbors. So, they're very friendly. So we
Yeah.
do a lot of hog wire and cedar. We do a lot of mesh so that keep the deer out. So
right, but they can still see through and converse with the neighbors.
Yeah, they can say hi to the neighbors walking by, and it doesn't block their view. And
interesting.
Yeah, there's a huge height restriction. So
yeah,
building wise, even just houses, they can only go to a certain point.
Oh, really?
Yes.
A certain height of the house,
so it doesn't ruin the view. Same with the fences.
It doesn't make, but I can see that.
Yeah.
I can see that. Interesting. So 7 foot. So here in Springfield, and everywhere. So inside city limits, we're limited to 6 foot 0 inches. Now, you can go taller, but it takes a whole different review process.
Exactly.
Engineered stamp drawings.
Yep.
They can't say no, but they can make it as difficult as possible. So
Absolutely.
6 foot 0 is kind of 6 foot 0 from grade.
Right.
So don't think you're going to put the post up a little higher and then people try that.
Oh, I know. I've tried it myself.
They say, hey, it's a foot off the ground. It's only 6 foot. They're like, no. From grade. Yep. Which means usually people will build a berm. So if they have a house behind them, they'll build a 2 or 3 foot berm and then put the foot on, the fence on top of that. Okay.
Well, we have nosy neighbors, in some places that will complain about anything. So,
of course.
So they don't get away with a lot of that back there.
Sure.
Somebody will complain.
Well, and that's the thing we've dealt with lately is a lot of guys. So, those of us that have been fencing in Springfield for quite a while know the 6 foot 0 restriction. Like it can only be 6 foot 0. Don't think about 6 foot 1 or else, you got problems sort of thing. But there's a lot of guys building fence now, and not only in our market, but there's a lot of new fence contractors in the market now, and
I've seen that. They're coming from everywhere.
Yeah. Well, we kind of talked about that yesterday.
Right. Yeah, we
did. All different trades kind of coming into.
Yep.
What we've seen lately is home remodelers. There are a lot of home remodelers that are now building fences.
Landscapers.
Yeah. Well, and we've always, here in Southwest Missouri, landscaping has always been kind of hand in hand with it.
It's not where I come from.
Okay. So it's new for you guys.
Yeah, it's new to see that.
The problem is a lot of these guys don't know the regulations.
Right.
And so they'll go build an 8 foot fence. 8 foot is something we get asked about all the time because this is a city ordinance, not a county ordinance or restriction. So out in the county, right outside city limits, you can build 8 foot. You could build 10 foot if you really wanted to.
Unincorporated Boulder County is the same way.
Okay.
Yep.
So the people inside cities see that. They go, wait a minute.
He does it. Right.
Exactly. Yeah. I want that fence.
Yep.
Those of us that kind of know the rules and regulations say, okay, it is technically possible.
Sure.
We have to draw up plans, have engineer stamps.
Get approval.
They have to get approved from the city. They also have to be inspected as a structure in regards to setback. Right. They have to come inspect. So you dig the hole, they inspect the hole, you pour the concrete, they inspect the concrete.
Yep.
It's a whole thing.
It's a hassle.
It absolutely is.
But can be done. By the right person.
Possible, technically. Right. Now, is it financially feasible? Probably not. And then they say, well, how did that guy, how did my neighbor get an 8 foot fence? You'd have to ask your neighbor.
What are you hiding with an 8 foot fence, though? I mean, really?
Well, right. And so here's the thing, too, is if your neighbor has a 2-story house,
I see that.
But the 8 foot fence isn't going to cover that up either.
Right.
Now, it'll do more, but
right.
From the second story, you're still looking into that backyard.
Yeah, and I can see that with if you got a swimming pool or something.
Right. Yeah, swimming pool, hot tub on the porch or deck or whatever. I can understand it, but height restrictions are always a headache because then you get the guys that say, "Well, I bought this property and they can't tell me what to do with it."
Everybody has those customers.
I understand the argument.
Right.
I get it. However,
you tell the county.
Yeah, exactly. You just go ahead and
there's guys out there that will build it too.
There are. And that's the thing is the people that say, well, how come my neighbor has it?
I don't know.
You would have to ask your neighbor.
Right.
I don't know. I am judging by how that fence is built. I have a feeling that it's not built with engineer stamp drawings because so on an 8 foot fence, the post would be, depending on the engineer, either 4 foot or 6 foot apart. So you look at the fence, you see it spaced 8 foot, the posts are spaced 8 foot apart. It's not built to any sort of engineered standards. So, but somebody built it.
What's the spacing here?
So 6 foot or less, 8 foot on center. It's pretty normal. It goes above 6 foot. I like to bring them into 4 foot. Sometimes we'll do 6 foot depending on
area,
budget and area, really. So if it's a neighborhood full of 2-story houses, we're not going to get a lot of wind shear. Right. So I'm okay with 6 foot, if we're trying to value engineer this thing. But 4 foot is my preference. I mean,
we do 4 or 5 in Boulder.
Yeah.
Because of the wind.
Well, that's the thing is you guys get a lot more wind than we get here too.
It rips.
So for us, if that wind gets up 70 or 80 miles an hour in a gust, that's a pretty good storm.
It's moving.
For you guys, I have a feeling that's probably just getting started. I bet you guys see winds higher than that.
Yeah, we had a couple windstorms lately that were 120 mile an hour plus. I mean, it picked up trampolines. And
oh yeah, I can imagine.
Almost picked up one of my guys. I had to put rocks in his pockets. He was like
hanging
out for dear life. I'm like, I think we should stop building now.
Right? Yeah.
He's out there like, let's go.
Tying him down to something.
It gets windy.
So that comes into consideration too.
Yep.
When we're talking about post spacing, is how much structure does
I was talking to one of your guys because I had that question for him. I said, like postmasters.
Yeah.
I said, you do a lot of those, and he's like, we do a ton, and it's just coming into our market kind of slowly.
Yeah.
I've only done a handful with postmasters. I like them.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Yeah. And one thing we talked about yesterday was the pricing of those is a little prohibitive at the moment.
Well, and it varies quite a bit.
Yeah.
Because I saw the differences that we talked about the pricing.
Right. Right. Well, and it depends when you bought them and where you bought them, like which branch you bought them from,
right.
Because sometimes even branch pricing is a little bit different. If we could figure out a way to ship these things economically, it would be impressive. But we have customers that ask us. So we sell fence fittings online at ozfence.store. And we have requests come in a couple times a month wanting us to ship them. And we can do shipping quotes. We can reach out to some brokers and get an average price for something like that. And it's just as much as the post, if not more than the post.
It would pay for me to drive down here and see you once a month.
Right. Yeah.
They could get pricey.
Come on down and bring the trailer sort of thing.
Yes.
Yeah. It's really crazy right now. Now, that being said, shipping prices are coming down. So
a little bit.
We're starting to get some phone calls from brokers saying, do you guys have anything? Like, what are you guys shipping? Well, not right now. I reached out to a few of them when we're talking about manufacturing wire because we're going to have to ship this wire.
Right. That's going to be big
elsewhere.
For you.
And so before there, it was really, we'll let you know, right? We'll just get back with you on that. Now they're starting to call in. Say, hey, remember when you were talking about that? Do you need that shipped?
Oh, yeah.
No, I don't. Not right now.
No, not yet.
But it's interesting that conversation's turning around.
It is. That's going to be big for you, isn't it?
I think so. I think it's going to be big for the economy. If we can get back to shipping things fairly reasonably, I think it's going to be a boost that the economy needs because we'll start seeing the price of goods come down. Hopefully, right? Hopefully the fuel surcharges start coming down. But of course, price of fuel still sky high. So
my God,
you guys experienced that coming down.
Took 6 times we stopped on the way down here.
6 Phillips.
Well, we were in the wind with a lifted truck and big tires and 6. I was like, this was not worth it.
Yeah.
He's like, it was worth it to me because he won't fly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. So that's interesting to hear about the market, though.
The picket difference too. We tapped on that.
Yeah. Let's talk about that.
Because we don't see a lot of pine.
Yeah, that's right. As a material,
right.
Not a lot of treated pine.
No, and I mean when we do see it, it's like exotic almost.
Well, that's what you're saying. Pickets that range ballpark $7-8 a picket up there.
Yeah,
wild.
Yeah,
really wild. I mean, here I'd have to go look, but I say we're in the ballpark of around $3 a picket. They're about.
You can get them for $3 by us, but it's bottom of the barrel.
Yeah, you don't want them.
You don't want them.
You're not gonna put your sign on them.
No, I wouldn't hang my sign on it. Yeah, but, I mean, we've put them up because it's in a pinch, or it just had to.
Sure,
but it's not the prettiest.
Right. So you're mostly a cedar market then, probably Western red cedar.
Yes.
You guys get into any of the incense cedar?
Not really.
Like the lighter cedar, white cedar, that sort of thing.
No, not a whole lot. Yeah. I mean, pretty up by us, you're gonna go with pretty much cedar, and we do have a little bit of pine, but it's that yellowy.
Yeah. And that's kind of crazy too to look at the different colors of treated pine. So as we're in these Facebook groups and someone's saying, "Well, here's our treated pine," like that is orange. Like how is like our treated pine? It's all about the treatment. Ours is more like a copper-based solution, so it's more green. But it's interesting to see just the different colors of treatment.
It is, yeah. I wish we had a little bit more selection.
Yeah. I tell you who I'm jealous of is guys over West Coast because they get. I mean, redwood is an option the further west you get.
We have a little bit of redwood too.
Do you?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we have one option.
Redwood, sure. Well, you got one more than we do.
That works.
I wish we had. I mean, because sometimes you have a client that just says, "I want this fence to look great."
I've done one redwood. It does look sharp. It looks beautiful.
I see these pictures. I'm like, as a fence guy, I want to work with this. I want to see.
It's nice.
But I know a guy that has a mill that does redwood out in California. But again, the shipping, I mean, to get that truck of redwood pickets here makes them so unobtainable. So I mean, technically, I guess we do have an option, but
you have to have the market for it. I
that's
mean,
right.
The income of the house, it depends on, you know.
And we don't. So we're in a different, I mean, obviously a different area, but like our cost of living here is incredibly lower than anywhere else. So 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 2-car garage. It's like 1,650 square feet. We just built a couple of these houses for rental houses, and they ran us about $105,000 to build. And so I know. And we could sell right now. We could sell them for $185,000, $190,000, and to us, that is fantastic money. Like we're cheering that on.
I'm choking on that. I mean, I'll take 2.
Yeah, right. Yeah, just pick them up and move them over.
Boulder is the average house price. The average, and I'm not bragging by any means, but how outrageous it is $960,000.
$900, almost $1 million. I mean,
so we work on $1 million houses daily.
Wow.
I mean, it's unbelievable the difference,
and that probably puts fence pricing into perspective too.
It does. We don't like to talk, pricing, but I mean, I was talking with your guys, and some numbers were thrown out here and there, and it was a wild difference.
Well, and just like I said, because the price of everything's a little
bit
different.
It's a different demographic.
The price of housing, obviously, the price of vehicles, of foodstuffs, of just all of that is quite a bit lower here, which is why we see a lot of corporations have their headquarters here.
Yeah, Bass Pro.
Yeah,
man, that was amazing.
Yeah, you guys got to walk through.
Man, I was excited.
The world's finest Bass Pro shops.
It was beautiful.
He puts a lot into that store. He really does.
You can tell. I mean, it was amazing.
Well, and he still lives in the Springfield area, so that's his home store too.
Man,
so everyone likes to make sure it's in tip-top shape because they know he's coming through on a daily basis.
They're nice people. People down here are actually pretty welcoming. Say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we treat everyone like we'd want to be treated, sort of thing.
And it's been nothing but nice.
We also have the world headquarters of O'Reilly Auto Parts,
right?
So major auto parts store.
My favorite. I'm gonna move here, Joe.
So that was another family that's from the area, but they stayed here. Family roots and all, but because, like I said, cost of living so low.
The only thing that was different was gas or diesel, I should say.
Yeah.
It's more expensive here than up there. I was
surprised.
Really? Yeah.
I was noticing that coming into work because I'm about ready for a fill up, and it's something like $5.20 a gallon on the way in. So that's new. It did not used to be. So even 2-3 weeks ago, when gas was just really making the news, diesel was about at $1 premium. So whatever unleaded was, it'd be about $1 more. Now, so I think I don't track unleaded that much just because I don't.
It's like $1.40 more.
Yeah. Because it was So it was $3.20, $3.30 or something like that for unleaded, and then $5.17, $5.20 for diesel.
That hurts.
Crazy. It does. That hits your pocketbook.
You pull up to the pump, you're like, come away 10 pounds lighter.
Right.
In the wallet.
Well, for us, you can't fill up with one card swipe because we get limited to $125.
Me too.
So it's like, okay, so then you got to swipe it again to finish the top off, and
God forbid you got your Bobcat with you.
Oh yeah, right. You'd be 3 or 4 different card swipes just to fill everything up.
Yep.
But anyway, our cost of living is quite a bit lower here, which does impact the cost of fence.
It does.
And that's probably part of a larger conversation on, because we're all in these fence Facebook groups together, and the questions always come up. Well, what do you guys charge for 6-foot privacy fence? Well, it doesn't matter. One, that's not a legal conversation and listen, I understand. Like, we can argue about this all we want.
Yeah.
But it violates the Sherman Act. So price comparison is one of the tenets of the Sherman Act, which talks about collusion and antitrust and all that. So simply comparing prices could lead to that conversation, to an antitrust conversation. Now, are they scouring Facebook looking for these conversations? Probably not. But probably tells me that there's a chance.
Yeah, I'd rather just avoid the whole confrontation.
Absolutely. But even if, let's wave a magic wand and say we could talk about pricing, it wouldn't really matter anyway.
It doesn't.
Our markets are so different that I could give you a price, random number, say $1,000 a foot or something.
Right.
And you go, wow, okay, all right. I guess my price needs to be 1,000. Well, then you end up going bankrupt because
wasn't enough.
all of your it wasn't nearly enough.
Right.
Because all of your costs are so much higher.
Right.
Rent. Your personal your personal cost of living, the cost of materials,
materials,
the payroll, the everything is
fuel.
So much higher
I mean, everything.
Yeah.
Yep.
So if you base your number off my number,
I could lose my shirt.
Absolutely, pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Right. Because when you're asking the question, hey, how much do you price per foot? You're not asking any of the supporting questions.
Yeah.
What's your cost of living? What is your overhead? Because that's a question, or that's a conversation Sean King and I had, was that, if our businesses were next door to each other, same size, same number of employees, same material, same across the board, our pricing would still be different. Now it would be close, but it would be different because even our goals of business growth would be different. Our business plans would likely be different. Our ideal profit percentage could be different if one of us is focusing on growth. And well, absolutely.
Where are you going after, the cookie cutter or custom fence? Or
that's exactly what market
vinyl
segment are we going?
Yeah, chain link.
It could be wildly different.
Huge.
So
difference.
even if we were in the same market next door to each other, our pricing would be different.
Absolutely.
So what makes you think that if you were in a different market that your prices would be anywhere comparable? They shouldn't be.
No.
Because the prices are, in this example, if our company, if we twirled a magic wand,
twinkled,
and we were magically same, but you were in Boulder and I was in Springfield, our pricing would be wildly different. It would have to be if we knew our numbers.
Yeah. If we knew our surroundings,
right. If you knew the market capacity, what can the market support as far as pricing, that sort of thing, it would have to be different. So,
what it costs me to build a fence and what it costs you to build a fence is wildly different.
Absolutely. Just because all of the inputs are different. Anyway, I don't mean to keep harping on this, but so that question bugs me.
I know it does.
Because I know people are basing their price off of these answers you see in there, right? And that is going to get a lot of people in a lot of trouble. The reason it hasn't yet, and it probably has, but the reason it hasn't happened more is we're in the middle of a fantastic economy. Yes. Like, it's, say what you want, and this isn't a political statement. I'm just saying the economy is good right now, and people are falling into work. Like, you could just open up a business, not have a website, not have a phone number, and do a fence for someone, and then they tell a friend, and they tell a friend, and they tell a friend, and then they tell Facebook.
Absolutely.
And then all of a sudden, you're as busy as you ever wanted to be.
That's what happened. It happens daily, and the problem is it's not the work coming in; it's getting the work out.
Well, the production. Yes. That's a fair point too.
Yes, you can have all the work in the world. It doesn't matter if you can't, but if you got to get it done. Yeah, if you can't get it done, there's no sense in being.
Absolutely. And the point being that so many people have so much work that a lot of times these problems are covered up by cash flow. They're churning through so much work. They have so much cash coming in and going out that it kind of makes up for some of that, right? It's going to cover that problem up for now. For now,
yes.
Until things slow down and you're not falling into work anymore.
Is it going to slow down? Our area is growing rapidly.
I agree. And we're seeing that now here too. I mean, we're seeing more companies come into our market. So Bass Pro acquired Cabela's. Gosh, that's been 3-4 years ago. At least 3 or 4 years ago now, probably more than that. And they're still bringing corporate executives into town. They had to stage them coming into town because we didn't have enough housing in our market. I forget the number. They were trying to bring thousands of people into the market, and there just wasn't the housing available.
We have a headquarters for Google.
Okay.
Boulder does.
Okay. Yeah.
And now Amazon's trying to move in across the street from Google.
Really?
And they're trying to purchase like whole developments for their employees.
Just for their employees.
Or pieces of property that are close, and they're just wrecking, coming in and wiping the ground and building whatever they want, just for their little compound.
They got going. Employee housing sort of thing. Yep. No kidding.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense.
And plus we have CU.
Okay. Yeah.
We've got a busy
lot going on.
Yeah, a lot.
So I think your point's fair. Is it going to slow down? I mean, I wish I had a crystal ball and I could tell you.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I'm making plans as if it does. right? Because
It's smart.
if you make plans for it to slow down and it doesn't, you're in a fantastic position.
Sure.
Because all of a sudden, I mean, we're taking a look at our P&L on a regular basis. Right. We're trying to cut expenses where we can. We're starting up new lines of revenue where we can with e-commerce, just because what if, right? And I mean, if we were only Ozark Fence and we hadn't expanded into retail, wholesale, or e-commerce or this manufacturing, we would still be okay, right? Like we would still be we would still be fine. That's worked for the last 60 some odd years.
It's one of those things that I came here wanting to answers for is because I'm a big what if, and I'm afraid of commitment. Like,
sure,
I know I need a new Bobcat or I need a new Dingo, but I'm like, I might be able to squeeze a payment, but what if? What if?
Yeah. Well, and that's we spent a good amount of time yesterday talking about that.
Yeah.
And I'm a pretty big fan of planning for the worst, because if you plan for the worst and then it doesn't come, you're in a solid situation.
It was one of the best pieces of advice you gave me was on that what if section.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the main things I was looking for.
Sure.
It wasn't, I know there wasn't a correct answer.
Right. There's not a one fits all answer.
Right. But the advice you gave me was on point. It was one of the major things that I learned.
Good. Well, so my thing is for fencing contractors out there, I think you really have to plan for the what ifs.
Yeah, you absolutely.
Because so in our area, in our market, the housing collapse was around 2008. I know some places were 2007. In my market, it was primarily in 2008. So in 2006, people were making plans as if things would never go wrong. Right? They're like, hey, housing's good. We're building as much housing as we can. And people are getting crazy money for houses, and they're spending more money. We're building more fence than we have ever built before. And then they weren't. And then 2008 happened, and the housing bubble burst, and the market collapsed. And all of a sudden, people were building half the fence that they were before, or less. So that sticks in the back of my mind. What if? Right now,
I wouldn't know that, but I'm taking your advice. Yeah.
Right. Like I hope it doesn't. I would love for this party to never end, the music to never stop.
But what if?
Well, what if? That's right. So, like I say, I think if in 2006, if people had made plans for a slowdown and then it had happened, they'd probably be in better position. Maybe they wouldn't be as leveraged as far as debt. Maybe they wouldn't. They would be making different choices. So that's kind of my thought when we're talking about the cash flow covering. Cash flow solves a lot of sins, as far as running the business. If you have a tremendous amount of cash flow, you can make up for deficiencies elsewhere in your business.
I was trying to piece that together as well when I came here. How do you, because I started, Joe, with like a lot of these guys out there, just some clams and a shovel,
Yeah.
And that's how I did it. I didn't ask to come into this business. It kind of fell into my lap.
The opportunity presented itself.
And I ran with it. And the cash flow thing was, I mean, it's an issue when starting your own fence company. Not that I'm discouraging anybody from it, because it is possible.
But it is one of the considerations.
It's huge. I mean, it's a huge difference on how your business is run and your outlook.
Yeah, you got to look at it. You got to look at all the angles.
You do,
right?
Yes.
I think it's really, especially right now, like I said, with everything going as good as it is, it's really easy to look at it with rosy glasses, saying business will always be good. I will always make more money. It will never stop. Maybe it won't. Okay, maybe. But what if it does?
Yep.
So I'd rather make plans for it to slow down, and then it doesn't. What if it gets better? Fantastic.
That's awesome.
That means we win.
Yep.
But what if you plan for it to, continue and it doesn't? Well, that could mean you lose, or life gets a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So, and that we kind of had that conversation yesterday to some extent when we're talking about expansion and growth and what areas to grow when, sort of thing.
Right.
To grow or not to grow. Like, that's really one of the questions.
It was a major question.
Did I just create poetry? I might have just created poetry. Brandon, let's write that down. To grow or not to grow? That is the question.
Yeah. Might be some
that might be copyright
plagiarism.
Plagiarism probably, but
Joe said it, not me.
We'll just he's like, get it, go for him.
Write that down.
I'm just here. I'm just one guy, I guess, on a show.
This isn't my studio. I'm a guest.
But that really is a solid question, though.
Yeah. And I learned it because I was thinking, well, coming into this is I need to figure out, ask Joe how, what you do to grow or how do I grow?
Yeah.
And I think we figured out it wasn't, you don't need to grow if you're,
not necessarily
focusing on what you do and how it's run now,
sure.
Or just take a different turn. Your dad gave me some great advice too.
Yeah.
I mean, he was right on the money.
So absolutely. And my dad is kind of where I get a lot of this, like pump the brakes.
I was going to say, he told me to pretty much slow down. He's like, whoa, take a breath.
You need to stop and analyze.
Right.
So he and I went through this when we were considering starting the company for manufacturing. He's like, if I were you, I'd want spreadsheets on worst case scenario.
Sarah.
Well, yeah, right. What are the projections for worst case scenario? What if the price of raw material goes through the roof and the price of retail material, the finished product, goes through the floor?
Right.
I was like, well, what are the chances that both of those happen at the same time? He's like, probably not. Probably,
but it could.
Close to zero.
Right.
The problem with close to zero is there is a chance. Right. So if you forecast for that, and then if you're good with that answer, can you live with that? Well, then you're probably okay.
If you have an answer for that question, then you're probably okay. But it means you thought about it.
Absolutely. You consider, and kind of the implications of that.
Right.
So if you start seeing raw materials creep up and you start seeing retail pricing creep down, you're like, I saw this projection. I kind of know where we're headed. Maybe
now you know where to turn. Yeah.
Right. So, but I say all that to say, like, that's kind of one of my dad's strengths here is kind of being the overarching voice of reason.
He was right on. He was like, no, turn this bus around.
Right. Well, growth just for the sake of growth may not be beneficial.
Just because it's there doesn't mean you have to.
Right. Well, and just because you see others doing it.
Right.
Hey, I'm a victim of that. I'm seeing guys with businesses that are 10, 20 times the size of mine in terms of revenue. I'm like, man, would that be great? Like, we should grow into that. My dad's like, actually, I don't think so, because I think you talk to them and see, would they rather?
Like you said, that they could hate it.
Right.
They could be like, this is the biggest headache.
Well,
or they could love it. I mean,
right.
They were ready for it, or they weren't ready for
and
it.
This probably kind of revolves back around to figuring out what each person's passions for.
Right.
Like there are a lot of fence guys that love wearing the tool belt part of the time and running the business part of the time. Right. Like, that's
guilty.
Fulfilling.
Yeah.
It is, because you get to see the end result immediately.
Right.
Like in our position in our company, I see the end result when it comes through pictures in company cam after the guys take pictures and all that. They get to see it real time.
Right.
I see the compliments as they come in through reviews. My guys get the compliments real time.
Right.
So I absolutely understand that is phenomenal. And that's why guys enjoy it, right? Is
the finished product.
And to participate in the finished
and
product.
to say I did that.
Right.
It's huge.
Right. So, and when I talk to guys that are with larger companies, and not necessarily only in fencing, in other areas as well, that's typically one of their regrets to growing is they don't get to do that as much.
Sean King put it correctly. Like, if you want to grow, sometimes you got to get out of the driver's seat.
Yeah. Sometimes you have to.
Yeah.
So what if you enjoy driving? You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
If you like driving, maybe you don't get out of the seat because maybe you're comfortable there.
Well, and maybe you're in the good zone.
Right.
Maybe, if you're able to be in the driver's seat, but also make a living for yourself, for your teammates, maybe that's the ideal scenario.
Yeah, I keep saying that's what we talked about. We talked about so much, Joe, while I was here. It was crazy, but the weight on your shoulders, that was a huge part of an issue that I had. Is I felt the pressure because I got my employees, I've got their families, I feel, the weight. If I don't get out there and do my job and sell fences, build fences, and everybody pays, everybody suffers if we don't.
It's a tremendous amount of pressure.
It was.
Yeah. Yep. And that's one of the things that we'd kind of shared was that I feel the same way in that, if we've got 15, 16 team members, that means we've got 30 to 45 people that I feel responsible for.
If you make the wrong decision, everybody pays for it. If they make the decision, maybe a couple people pay for it.
Sure.
But I mean, if you make the bad decision, if your e-commerce tanks or, if you focus on the wrong thing, I mean, everybody goes down. Everybody suffers.
Well, and that's the thing is, the significant others that were relying on this to work, or the children that were relying on this to work, that don't understand the implications of all this. Like, that's a lot to wake up to. It's
a big,
But you also flip that coin over and see the other side, which is we could impact a lot of people.
Okay.
You know what I mean? We could change a lot of lives
Absolutely.
here too, if we really get this thing to work right. If we really win, we could make a better life for these kids that otherwise may not have, you know what I mean? Life may have taken a different turn. So I think you have to examine both sides of that coin and see like which to focus on, sort of thing. You have to take both of them into consideration. And I think that's important, because I think you could also be paralyzed with the fear of what ifs too.
And I was, and I still have a little. I mean, I didn't answer every question I had, but it still scares me.
Of course.
I'm a young fence builder. You know, I'm new to the fence industry. I mean, a lot of stuff scares me. I wanted to call so many times and, you know, figure out who to contact and be like, how much?
Yeah.
Until I had to slow down and figure out the whole logistics and, you know, the business part of it. And, you know, it's not.
Well, because like a lot of the answer, when you ask guys how much, a lot of them will say, well, it depends on your numbers.
Right. That's the first question.
I don't have the answer for it. You have the answer. You just don't know it yet.
Right.
But the problem is, if you don't know your numbers, you don't know where to start on how to get your numbers.
True.
Would that be fair?
Absolutely fair.
So I hear frustration. So when I'm reading these comment threads and Facebook pages, like, you can hear the frustration of them saying, well, how? Like, okay, so the answer is know your numbers.
Know what it costs you.
How do I know my numbers? Right. You know, and so that's
a legitimate question.
It is. I mean, so as I'm sitting here, I'm thinking through, like, we should probably cover this, you know, all right. So we say know your numbers, and we say, well, just take your materials and your labor total cost and double them, multiply them by 2, get you to 50% gross profit. I understand Sean is on the other side of the mathematical equation. He says divide, so never multiply, divide. Okay.
Yep.
Two different tools that get us near the same
result. Get you the same result, yeah.
So, and we leave it at that. Right, guys, it's easy. Take your costs and double it, and you're there. Well, it's easy for us because we've been through the numbers. I think we need to take a step back, right, and say, this is what I'm looking at for numbers.
Absolutely.
So, I don't know. This is just me brainstorming this question, but anyway, I say that to say I hear the frustration when this conversation is going on, and we're saying, well, you already know the answer because it's in your numbers.
A lot of the new guys don't know how to get there.
Yeah, they're like, where? I don't see that answer anywhere. Actually, I'm looking for it, but I don't see it. Right. And now there's tools to help with that. Obviously, we use QuickBooks as an accounting software. There's others out there I absolutely understand, which make that a little bit easier. Right. But it makes it easier if the numbers are inputted correctly. So that's another thing.
That's one thing I'm learning too, is, you know, when I started, I had to watch that episode of yours where it says what software you use.
Yeah.
That was a huge question of mine. And
sure.
I took some advice. I left some advice. I mean,
of course,
right.
Everybody's tailor it to your situation.
Exactly. To my situation. I mean, I'm still not 100%, Joe. I mean, I never will be, but I still don't have everything in place, or I think I'm on the right direction. I've got a lot of good answers from you. So to where to go and the path to lead, you know, where I should head towards and see if it works for me. Because not everything you do is going to work for me.
Right. Well, not everything we do works for us all the time either.
True. You know, live and learn. Yeah, live and learn. But
so I'll say this. So in terms of like making sure data is inputted correctly, I spent probably a week earlier this year going through our QuickBooks and cleaning up some data. That stuff that was entered under the wrong tracking, you know, wrong income tracking or the wrong expense tracking. And so again, I don't know that anyone ever has it truly figured out. Right.
No, I'm guilty. I paid for QuickBooks for 6 months before I even opened it.
Sure.
I mean, it's just one of those things where I didn't get home until, you know, dark. And then, you know, you have family and you have a life outside of the fence company. Sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. You're supposed to.
You're supposed to. Yeah. Not for the first couple of years. You don't.
Right. But I think that's all. I think that's all fair. I think we need to take a step back at some point and really have an episode just on really where are your numbers? Like, we always say the answer's in your numbers. where are the numbers? Like, which numbers do you look at? How do you look at them? That sort of thing.
Sean would be perfect for that one.
Yes, absolutely. So, Sean, actually, I know Sean's not where I saw it. So, Sean's working on his house right now. But, Sean, if you're watching this as a replay, we need to get together on this.
Absolutely. I'll watch that one for sure.
Let's say hello to a few people.
Yeah.
Roger says his wife and he were stalked by a mountain lion in California. Story for another day. Spoiler, it ended well. Okay. All right.
Spoiler.
Yeah. Thank you for that spoiler, Roger. I am really glad to hear it didn't go a different way. Wallace says, hey, Fence family, beautiful day. Absolutely.
I love that phrase, Fence family.
If it absolutely. And I am absolutely sure I got that from somewhere else. Like, you know what I mean? I probably saw it somewhere.
Still.
What is this saying? Like, there are no new ideas. Like, since what was it? Like since 1920, there have not been new ideas. There's been improvements on existing ideas and stuff like that. I think the same thing is true for sayings.
I still love it.
Yeah, it's accurate. It absolutely. Anyway,
Fence fam 2023.
Well, yes. Wallace, welcome. We need to have Fence family reunion.
Absolutely.
I like this concept so much. Project Metal Music. Hey, Joe, and everyone. Hello, Project Metal Music. Project Metal Music is over in the UK. So, good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to you. So, let's see. So, Jason, what do you think the future looks like for Talen fencing? Like, where we've talked a little bit about knowing kind of where the ship's going, and I'm asking in generalities, right? But where do you think your ship's headed?
You know, I don't think I've quite figured out the direction I want to go.
Okay.
You know, more important, where we want to go as a team. Yep. So, like you do, I think I need to sit down with my team and ask some opinions, ask what they think, which I'm guilty of not doing enough.
Sure.
And I'm sure they have plenty of input, but I can't do this by myself. Yeah. So I need to talk with my team to find out where they want to go, because maybe they're just fine doing what we do. And
right.
You know, maybe they want more help, or maybe they want new people, or maybe they're okay the way they are.
Well, that's the thing. Or maybe they've got ideas of where, you know, maybe they see something on the horizon that, they say, hey, have you thought about this? And you know what? I hadn't, but however, that's a pretty good idea.
I see how important it is now, because your guys had a lot of great input for you, and they had things to say, and they spoke up and put their 2 cents in. And
so you see kind of the result of, we've been having for about a year and a half, we've been having these, well, maybe a year. We've been having Final Friday, well, at least a year. So Eric's been with us a year this past Wednesday. And I think one of his like second day at work was one of our first ever Final Fridays. So we've been doing it for about a year. It was funny. So he had started at the time, our team was quite a bit smaller. So we were actually downstairs in what is now the fulfillment room. And I just ordered some pizza. We all sat around and had pizza, and
it's a small room.
It is a very small room. Then we grew to the conference room, and then now we grew out into the shop. But so I say all that to say, what you're seeing is a result of a year of these Final Fridays.
Right. In the works. It wasn't brand new.
Right. And
what I'm saying is it works from the outside looking in. It looks like it works.
It does. It really does. After you give it time to grow. Right. So after the team members understand that they can be comfortable enough to talk, and not like it's a safe space or whatever you want to call it, that like there are no bad ideas. There are no bad suggestions.
Right.
Every comment is valid. Like if you feel compelled to make the comment, then it is a valid comment.
There's no stupid questions.
No, not at all. Never.
Right.
Because if you're asking the question, there's a really good chance someone else is thinking that same thing.
Just embarrassed or doesn't want to ask it.
Yep. Doesn't feel comfortable bringing it up or whatever. Or someone thinks that they have the answer for the question. You answer it and they realize, oh, that's not what I thought it was.
And I've realized I've worked my guys way too hard.
Sure.
Man.
Well, listen, we're guilty of that. You know, we've had some hard weeks lately where, you know, we'll have a lot of rain. So that means the remaining days are hard days.
Yeah.
You know, they're longer days or harder days, but then when possible, you got to stop and kind of catch your breath, sort of thing.
Yeah, you got to stop and smell the flowers once in a while.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, so you kind of saw out in the shop. So yesterday's the Final Friday is really supposed to be not a production day, right? So the field crews stay in, the fabrication crews, we're not fabricating anything. We're doing building maintenance and building upgrades.
I've seen a lot of fabrication.
There was a lot of
yesterday.
fabrication going on. There was a lot of fabrication. There was a lot of infield production because last week we had 2 days of rain. The week before, I think we had 3 days of rain. Like, we're still playing a decent amount of catch up.
But you know what? It wasn't because you said something. It was because they have their jobs.
Yeah.
And they needed to get a little ahead on the side, it looked like. And they're
Yep.
like, oh, Joe, hold on just a second. Let me just finish up here. And you're like,
well, and that we're building a 28-foot single swing gate. It was pretty sizable.
Yeah,
the one that we needed those 6 5/8 inches for. Matt and I kind of had that conversation. He's like, hey, when do we need to stop? Like, how much time do I have on this?
What is the last minute I can work?
Exactly. Until we need to push it out of the way to set up lunch, because we had lunch in his fabrication shop. So, I mean, there is a little bit of that. And Matt, being with Building and Grounds, knew kind of what projects were needed for Building Grounds, like which ones could be put on the back burner, and which is fair, but you do. But then we sat and we had lunch and we watched the new video and we did a recap on the business. We were there for probably an hour and a half, 2 hours.
Yeah.
So everyone kind of got a decent chance to sit, catch your breath, catch up with everyone. And then the afternoon, the guys had a competition. So the guys are really into YouTube now. Like, now that we've started this week in the life, you guys will be seeing there are a few individuals here that enjoy being in front of the camera.
There's a couple of your guys want to be stars there.
They do, and they will be.
And they were voting on who was going to be in more videos.
Right. They are self-policing themselves on who gets more or less video time. But part of that is they had a competition to see who could wire panels the fastest, right? And they were also grading each other. So it wasn't only speed, it was also presentation.
Right.
They were awarding presentation points and all this and stuff. So we got a little work done.
Yeah.
But we had a little bit of fun.
Yeah, had some fun.
So, we're also trying to get better too. So we still wire tie with hook ties, where, with aluminum, 9-gauge hook ties. But what we're thinking about is the quick tie system, where you clip them on. You've got a tool on an impact or a drill. It will zip it on, but also cut them to the correct length, all in like within a matter of a second or 2 seconds. Right. So that's actually what we're going to do next Friday. So this week I'm going to source the ties and the chuck for that. And then next Friday we'll have another panel build off and see if we can't shave some time off of that with the quick ties. So having fun. Now we're working on panels. We need to build out 120, 130 panels here in the next couple of weeks for construction, fencing, and an order. So we're getting some work done. We're knocking out some of those panels.
Yeah, you are.
But we're also learning a little bit. We're trying to figure out, maybe we find out that these zip ties save us a ton of time. Maybe they don't, but we won't know until we test it.
Until you put it in
place. We test it in our scenario. Now, the reason we're testing it is I see other people that have had success with it. So,
that still would be eyes jumping up right now because they sell all that stuff.
Absolutely. Yep. But maybe it works for us. Maybe it doesn't.
Right. Just because it works for them doesn't mean it's going to work for you.
Right. Which is something we talk about on the show. Like, I'll tell you guys what works in my business. And this is kind of what yesterday was about. I will open my business to you. Some of it's going to work for you.
Right.
Some of it won't. Right. And because we figured out what works for us doesn't necessarily mean it'll work for you.
Right.
But maybe some version of it will.
Right. I took everything and I can implement things a little here, a little there, you know, because just a straight dump on my guys isn't going to work.
Right. No. You got to ease into it.
Yeah.
But maybe hopefully 6 months from now, you'll be in a situation where, like, oh, you know what?
I remember that.
Yeah. This is something I probably could use now. Or you saw a scenario here and you saw how we handled it. And then you say, you know what? I think we could handle it in a similar way.
Right.
Sort of thing. And now that one of the benefits of being one of the winners is we can do 4 Zoom calls over the next 2 years. And so, 6 months, 8 months from now, you say, hey, I remember us talking about it. I don't exactly remember how you handled it. Or are you handling it differently now? We'll schedule a Zoom call and Zoom in about it with you and the team or whoever you like to be present for that. And talk through it.
That was so awesome. You're just like, who do you want to talk to? I'm like, what do you mean? You're like, you need to sit somebody down and talk
Yeah.
to them, ask them any questions. You're like, everybody's here to answer anything you have to throw
Yes.
at them. Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. I really thank you.
And that's well, you're very welcome. And I'm glad to hear that, because that is absolutely my mission, is to make us an open book for you.
And
all access pass, that sort of thing.
It was.
And that's one thing we had kind of talked to the team about is, this is an all access pass. Like there are no punches pulled. There's no secrets hidden or anything like that. Like, and so what we had done is we just talked with my dad, and then we did a tour just to show you what is here and how it's laid out and that sort of thing. And then had you talk with Sarah, because you and I had talked previously that you would want to spend some time with Sarah, on just what that looks like. So I knew that. We had lunch. We introduced everyone around and what their specialty was. And then that was the question. Like, all right, we've got 3 hours left in the day. Who should we sit you with? Do we, and you talked for a while with Scott.
I talked to Scott
Jason,
for a while.
Yep. So who else, and it ended up, it was me and you guys and my
dad.
Yep. And we just sit and just kind of had a really good in-depth conversation.
Right. It wasn't just business. I mean, it was more of a in whole. I mean, it was nice.
Because we're all individuals with different facets, right? It's never always just business. No. There's a personal life that works in conjunction with a work life, and there's a friends circle. This whole thing works. So if we only focused on business and we didn't talk about family, we didn't talk about how it interacts with all the rest of it, we'd really only be looking at part of the picture.
Right. And your dad was quick to catch on that. I mean, he was like, wait a minute, let's stop this bus real quick.
Yeah. And it's funny because that's kind of how our relationship is. Yeah. You and I were talking about the future and pushing forward, and he's like, oh, wait, I had stepped out. We had a client up front.
Yep.
I had stepped out for a little bit to go chat with them. Came back, and Dad's like,
hey, we hit reverse
for a while.
We turned this bus around.
Yeah, which is fair.
Absolutely.
I blew right past that. And my dad did. He kind of picked up on that. He's like, wait, I think we need to ask some different questions.
And he did.
He skipped a few steps here.
He went, turned that bus around, and he went a different route. And I mean, the man knows his stuff. You're very lucky.
There is a reason we are where we are today.
Absolutely.
And I can't emphasize that enough, that, I talk a lot on the channel about improvements we've made and areas we've grown. Well, the reason we're able to do that is we had a solid foundation, right? That he provided. And we veered a little bit off of his intended path.
You're adding your flair too, and now that things change.
But I think it's important to note that you still have to be open for suggestion. You have to be open to criticism.
Yep.
Like, both he and my sister are not afraid to criticize my thoughts and ideas, which is what I need sometimes.
Yeah. Like she said, it was Joe's like, let's do this, let's do this, and your sister's like, okay, that's fine, but this is how we have to do to get to that position.
Yeah. I'm very much the visionary. I think future. She thinks today. She's like, how are we going to handle this right now?
Exactly.
I know you're dreaming of a different tomorrow. We got to figure out today. We got to figure out policies and procedures and how we're going to get that done. And I'm very much the yeah. It'll work out. Like,
don't worry.
It's already made sense in my mind. We can figure it out. We need to be on to the next step. So, and then, like I said, my dad's always the voice of caution. He's like, whoa, moving too fast here.
Yep, hold on.
We need to slow this down. Yep. We need to carefully analyze everything. And I think you need each one of those.
You do. That's why I say you have such a great team. I mean, everybody's got their spot. I mean,
sure.
And your team comes together.
Kind of meshes really well.
Really well.
One of the most dangerous places a business owner can be is in an echo chamber, right? So when they say, hey, I think we should do this, and the rest of the room is like, yep, sounds great. That's what we should do. Even if they don't believe that.
Yeah.
But they're like, they think, hey, the captain of the ship's going to tell us where we're headed. Who am I to question?
Yeah, that's where we're going.
And that gets dangerous in a hurry, right? Because you need everyone to feel comfortable enough to give you different answers.
Yeah, because your guys can be like, wait a minute, I'm out there. What he's saying is going to work, and I know it's not going to work.
Right. Or he hasn't taken this thing into consideration at all. Like, I see where he's going, or I think I see where he's going. I better ask a question to see if he thinks about, business owners a lot of times also run with blinders on.
Absolutely.
right? Like I am guilty of getting tunnel vision on an idea. I get once it comes to fruition and I do a little bit of due diligence, if it shakes out, that is the direction I'm headed. We just commit to it and go.
Put your head down and run with the ball.
That's right. That's right. So what I found is I need a few voices of reason around me to say, hey, but did you look at this thing? Like, I see you focus on this. Have you looked at this at all?
Right.
Like, have you thought about this thing at all? And a few times that saved our skin. Like, oh,
you're full bore, and everybody's like, wait, there's a speed limit on this road.
Exactly. Or there's a pothole.
Yeah.
Did you see it? I'm like, no, I'm full throttle on this thing.
I'm halfway there already.
Right. Exactly. So I think that's probably a fair point that we need to have conversations with our team.
Yes.
And we need to make sure that they feel comfortable enough to have opposite opinions.
Yeah, there's no wrong answer, and they need to speak up.
There's no repercussion for disagreeing. In some instances, I'd prefer you disagree. Now, let's not disagree just for the sake of disagreeing, right? As long as it's constructive criticism,
absolutely.
I'll take it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the other part of that conversation is like I will take input, but ultimately we're not taking votes either. You know what I mean?
No, but
I see businesses get really hung up on that. That's why I say that is you really need one decision maker. Now, that decision maker needs to ask input from and take all of that data and all that response,
pull out one,
and then pick the direction, right? So
or maybe mold them all into one, or take what you can.
Maybe you're headed due north. Your idea is due north. And then you poll everyone, you take everyone's opinions, and some say east, and some say west, and some say south, or whatever. And you decide after all that, maybe it's northeast. Still headed kind of in that same direction, but we're going to put a different spin on it. You know what I mean?
Or you need to take a little longer to get there.
Right. Take a different path.
There's some other places you need to stop.
Yep, absolutely. So you do need one decision maker. I've got a friend that's involved in a business, and he has several partners in this business. And he and I were talking about that one time. He's like, you would not believe how hard it is to bring 4 people. And these are 4 like-minded people. It's him and 3 like-minded people. Bring 4 people to the same conclusion. Like they have to be more or less unanimous when making big decisions.
Right.
And one, it's an even number, which is always a bad idea. You always need an odd number for a tie break. Yep. But his point being, he's like, you don't know how good you have it. Like you have one decision maker. You are the guy that makes the decision. And I think you need that. I see businesses that get paralyzed because they are the owner or manager or what have you, but they feel like everyone needs to vote, right? They need to poll their 14, 15 team members and everybody votes and the winning vote gets it.
No.
Not always, right? Now they need to have a voice and the voice needs to be heard.
Of course. Absolutely.
But sometimes you go in a different direction. Sometimes you hear that and you say, guys, I hear what you're saying, but I really think you're missing. But I think you're missing the bigger picture that I have in my mind. I tried to share that with you, but for some reason I was not able to get that through to you. You're seeing a different picture. So we are headed in this direction.
The guy that came with me, Ben.
Yeah.
He's my voice of reason. He's my best friend.
Perfect.
But he's the outsider looking in. Yeah. And I go to him all the time. I'm like, hey, he knows more about the business than I do. And he doesn't even get a paycheck from me. I mean, I bounce everything off of him, so I take everything from my guys and I bounce it. And and he's not afraid to say, man, that was the dumbest thing you've ever said, or that is not what you need to do.
And you need that.
Yeah. And I do. And I value his opinion.
Absolutely.
And that's why I brought him, because he was like, this is going to work. I think maybe focus on this, or he's not afraid of it. He's just like, no, just hush up.
Sure.
He's like, be quiet. That's not what you're going to do. And it,
Right.
Because I'm like you, this and this and this and this, and this is where we're going. And I'm going to jump there. And he's like, pull it back.
Yeah. You made a few leaps there that I think we need to back up on.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Let's catch up some here. Let's catch up some here.
Yeah,
Does anyone know what that means? I don't know what that means, but Roger says the only stupid question is the one you fail to ask.
Bingo.
Absolutely. And I never want to be in a position where someone says, well, we go in the wrong direction. And then we recognize that and we have to turn around and go a different direction. I never want anyone to say, well,
I was going to say that.
I was thinking that, but I didn't want to say it.
Right.
No. Say it.
Please do.
If you could have helped us avoid whatever this is, that path we went down, I need to hear that. And even if it's a question, to Roger's point, even if you think it's a silly or stupid question, ask it.
I've had my new guys do that. They're like, I'll yell at one of the more seasoned guys and be like, well, why is this off, or why? And the new guy would be like, I was going to ask that question. I'm like, why didn't you ask?
Yeah,
I'm like,
do.
let's understand. You can ask anything you want.
Right.
You know?
Well, because sometimes a fresh set of eyes are the best set of eyes.
Absolutely. Somebody that doesn't know exactly what's going on was like, that's why I tell my guys, ask question. Know why I'm telling you to put that there, or to cut this at that length, or don't just do it because I'm telling you to.
Yeah. Well, because they are the sum of a series of different life experiences, right? So they could say, well, I used to be a framer, and when we'd cut things this way, and might be different than how you cut. And you go, you know what? Spot on.
Right.
That saved us X minutes times X days times X months, and
ton of time and money.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. By the end of it, you've saved yourself a week of labor over the course of a year, and a week is worth X money, and you're more efficient. So now you can take advantage of more opportunities.
Right.
Because the one guy thought he had a silly question, asked it.
Could have been huge.
Yeah, absolutely. So
and it could have saved a bunch of problems too.
Right. A bunch of headache, a bunch of stress, maybe.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Josh says the quick ties are very efficient for chain link. I did a solar farm and military project in Hawaii that traded up and used those. Game changer for Aloha fence. I think that's absolutely that is kind of my thought.
I don't know the price difference,
so that's going to be a consideration.
I've seen how guys use them, and I know it's a time saver.
It is.
Well, so, it looks like a time saver.
Well, right. You got to test it. So, and that's the thing is you have to test it in your environment,
right?
With our process, and maybe we'll have to tweak some of our process to see if it works. But price is definitely a consideration. Now, one of the nice thing is you're upgrading from aluminum ties to steel ties.
Right.
It's a stronger product. I really think my opinion being we're only going to use these on commercial gates.
And
the potential sharp end bothers me on a residential gate because you're going to have kids and pets against this thing. That bothers me, makes me a little worried. But on a commercial fence, I think it's okay.
Sure, but I also see it done on a commercial fence, the taller ones, it looks like it takes two people.
Okay.
Because it looked like there's one guy on one side of it pushing it through and holding it while the other guy was put the drill on. Like,
interesting.
If you're at waist level on a 10-foot chain link.
Mm-hmm. How do you get around on that? So that's something we're going to have to figure out. It is. I think that's a valid consideration. And I'm going to turn to YouTube. I'm going to see if I can't find some YouTube videos on it.
I've seen it.
Like you called it YouTube University.
YouTube University. I am still enrolled.
Yeah, right. I think we all need to be. I really do.
I thought about making some shirts that say that, but probably some copyright. We talked about earlier.
Right. Yeah, you might get a few cease and desist letters, but
man, and I encourage people to post and to keep uploading. And
right.
Even the silly things. It helps everybody. I mean, it really does it. And that's why I call it YouTube University, because you can learn a ton.
I love watching the other fencing guys that have videos up because, like watching Mark Olson's journey.
Mark and Dan.
Yeah, right. Mark's journey of starting a new business. Like, I think we can all learn from that. I think we can all learn from, he was open and vulnerable about a project that kind of went sideways on him. Kind of the scope grew and grew and grew. And I think we can all sit and take a lesson from that, right? And I wish there were more guys and gals creating content that we can all watch and learn from.
And you don't have to hide the bad stuff.
No.
Because nobody's perfect.
No. I mean, that's so of this first new style video, probably over half of it was us solving a problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was great.
Over half of it.
Yeah. And you documented it quite well.
Yeah, which I didn't. Braden did.
Yeah.
Braden did. But no, I mean, that's the thing. And we're still getting used to this, but I'm taking Mark's lead. When I saw Mark be vulnerable about that, a lot of guys would have skipped past that.
I was so excited when he started that.
Yeah.
I watched him religiously.
Well, because I think to your point, I think it's good that we show
not everything
the bad with the good.
Yeah. Not everything's perfect.
No, I think I've been guilty of showing the highlights. right? Showing the wins, but you got to show the losses too.
Yeah, not everything's a win.
Right.
But you got to take a step. You got to, it's not always going to work.
Right.
And people need to know that out there that, it's not all roses.
That's correct. That's correct.
It's not all unicorns and rainbows.
Right.
You fail, but you're never going to fail if you don't try. You're never going to succeed if you don't try it.
Exactly. And I think that's what we need to be better about showing is the bad with the good.
Yeah, because it happens.
Right.
It does.
So I say all that to say I'd like to see more of the Fence fam in general create content, right? And listen, I'm learning from the guys over at D&J Projects. They shoot all of what they do on their phones.
Right. And it looks just fine.
It looks fantastic.
You don't need all the expensive equipment and,
Right.
Phone would be just fine. If that's what you got, don't be afraid to film it.
I think a lot, yes.
I'm not saying go out and do it.
No. Yeah, but I think a lot of folks get wrapped up in that. I did. I didn't want to get started in the very beginning because I didn't have all the gear, and
fencing goes the same way. I mean, don't be afraid because I didn't have any money backing me. I didn't have a Bobcat. I didn't have a dingo. I didn't even have a post hole digger, like a gas powered auger, nothing.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid just because you don't have it, but you can't fail if you don't try. And you can't succeed if you don't try.
Fantastic point. I think it's a fantastic point. I really do. I think, like I said, I think a lot of folks get wrapped up in that. Well, I'm not ready yet. I don't have all the things. When
will you be ready? Are you ever ready?
That's the point, right? If you wait till you're ready, you'll never be ready.
And I live on that too. What's the worst that could happen? Let me think about this.
Yeah.
As long as I don't get injured or nobody else gets injured,
sure,
let's go for it.
It's a win. And as long as you
can always try again.
Right. You've always got another crack at it. Absolutely. So anyway, Josh, we will be looking into the quick ties.
Yes.
And we will be sharing that on the channel.
Braden, make note of that.
Matt Warner says, you're a good egg, my friend. Matt, that means a lot coming from a gentleman such as yourself. I appreciate that. And so Matt, a lot of what you see here has to do with Matt Warner and what we learned when we went and visited his team over at Empire. So, he has a meeting similar to ours every Monday. So we do it on the final Friday. We do it once a month. He does it once a week, Monday mornings. Now it's an abbreviated version. It's not 2 hours every Monday.
I heard your name numerous times yesterday in that facility at Joe's.
Yeah, it's, and the meat locker, the deep freezes. I mean, that came from Matt sharing with us that, so they have big, I don't know what, they're not called meat days, but butcher days where his family raises a bunch of cows. They'll go butcher some cows and distribute it out to the guys. I'm like, well, my family doesn't have cattle, but I know people that do. And so we're kind of doing that in the next few months in that we're buying a steer. We're going to process it and turn it into hamburger and pass it out to all the guys, put it in the deep freeze so that if the guys need a meal or they know somebody needs it. Anyway,
it's not always what you know, Joe. It's who you know.
Well, it's who you know and what you learn, what you take away from them. Right. Are you open to new ideas and are you willing to try a few new ideas?
Right.
So I think we're all learning from each other. I really do. But Matt, I really appreciate. So here's the thing is, so when we went up to Empire for the AFA training event last year, Matt was kind of the same way where he was like, he opened up his business. He introduced us around the team. He said, anybody that you have a question for, you ask him because you're asking with my authority sort of thing, And so I was in your shoes in that situation. I was like, I like this. I like that I can go, if I've got a question, I can go grab Jamie and Jamie will sit with me and answer all the questions until
it was awesome.
We're ready to go to bed if need be. But so that's when you come and experience this, that's really just us copying what we experienced up there with Matt.
Matt, thank you.
But yeah, and I need to be up there more often. Like I think about that a lot, that I need to learn some more ideas.
I need to meet some of these guys that, I like to go into these events and,
Yeah. And here's the thing is we all kind of travel in the same circle because we're all kind of like-minded, that we're trying to raise the sea to raise the ships, right? The rising tide raises all the ships sort of thing. So what can we do as a collective to help raise the bar on this community, right? And you could come in not knowing any of them and say, guys, I got a problem and I'd like to talk about it. And these guys would circle you and they say, all right, well, let's figure it out. Let's sit down and figure this thing out.
That's what needs to happen. I mean, these guys, we need to get to know each other. And
Yeah.
So that we can reach out, so that
Agreed.
we can shoot somebody a text and be like, man, I'm stumped. What
Yeah.
what do I do here? If you got a sec, if you got a free minute. And
yeah,
I mean,
I agree.
I hear that you do it all the time. You're like,
yeah.
You talk to Kevin. And,
yeah. So Kevin Bruce was in town on vacation. He was
nice guy.
the first round winner. Great guy.
He really is.
Great. His whole family is phenomenal. Yep. But yeah, so he's got my number. Now you've got my number, and we stay in contact. Like, hey, how's it going? Yep. And he had shared with me some bumps in the road he had. I was like, oh, okay, well, let's figure this thing out. Like, right. What do you think? If this happened to me, these are probably some things I would try to do. And then what was really fulfilling is when we were sitting down at dinner, he's like, dude, change the trajectory. Now one of the things that we talk a lot about the show and in person about is 50% gross profit. Right. He's like, it was crazy. I raised my prices to 50%. And I got more business. Yeah. I don't know how this thing. I was worried about losing business, and I found more business. Yeah, kind of funny the way that works.
Kevin, I've seen some pictures. He does nice work.
He does great work.
He really does.
Him and he's got some helpers, and his dad pitches in with him occasionally. And
nice family,
great guy. Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, we're kind of creating this community, right? That kind of reaches out to each other. And listen, I reach out to Matt and Deshaun when I'm like, guys, and there's like a group text, and like, here's this thing.
And you know what? They're not afraid to answer you. They would never tell you, don't call me, or good people. The Fence family is a tight knit, and I think it just need to be able to reach out. Is what I'm saying.
Absolutely.
I've been struggling for years.
Well,
I'd say years, but I've only been in business, almost 3 years.
Yeah.
But there was nobody. I had nothing. Nobody knew anything about fencing. My family. And it was like just silly questions. That would have been nice. And you scour the internet and you never find the exact answer you're looking for.
I think a lot of us feel like we're the only one going through a certain scenario.
And you're not.
No. Then you talk to a few guys and they're like, yeah.
You're like, you just get into that problem.
Yeah,
like,
right. Well, I think that's it. And the joke I make is, I could be going through, fence tech and say, man, everyone else has it so good because when I dig, I hit rocks. And then 20 guys like, oh, you think you hit rocks? Sure, like, I hit bigger rocks, right? Whatever it is.
You're not the only one out there. That's
right.
Having a problem.
Yeah, really, no matter what problem you have, there's someone that's had some version of that problem.
And that's what we're talking about with you guys that do stream.
Yeah.
It's nice to see you run into trouble once in a while. It's not all good.
Yeah. Like, listen, there are some problems, right? And
absolutely.
I really feel like a lot of my job is like problem management, like solution management. Really is, it's just the nature of the beast. You get a bigger machine, it needs more maintenance.
Mark Olson's great at that. He's like, okay, for all you chatty Cathy's out there, the thing, he's funny because he will show you when he fails or why he does things. I mean, he's straightforward. He's a straight shooter.
He absolutely is. And he is comfortable being vulnerable.
Absolutely.
Like he shares the whole trials and tribulations. And I think that's why his channel's successful. Yeah. It's literally titled The Successful Contractor, but I think that's why the channel's successful is because he's open and vulnerable. He's not sugarcoating anything. He's not polishing it up to put it on here it is.
Here, you wanted to see it. Here it is.
Yeah, boy, we had a doozy. We really missed the mark on this. But also here's how we solved it. Right. So I enjoy his channel so much. I really, really do. So if you guys don't follow the Successful Contractor, Mark Olson, you absolutely should.
And Dan as well at SWI.
Dan,
he's funny.
Yeah,
he's a hoot, man. That guy
is hilarious.
And you know what? He gives you a lot of good tips and pointers, and you should follow him as well. I mean,
it's funny. So we put a TV out in the shop, and it's supposed to be so the guys can monitor the yard security cameras. Well, I go out there, they're watching my YouTube, and they're watching Dan at SWI. And so I took a picture and I sent it to Mark. I'm like, guys are in here just messing around and watching YouTube, and but what's funny is so we do Postmaster Post. Well, they were watching their videos on Postmaster. Like, we're trying to see if they do it a little bit differently. Can we pick up a tip or a trick?
Dude, so that's why I call it YouTube University. It's so nice. Before a lot of my jobs, I'm like, pulling up. I'm like, hold on. Yeah, I'll be right there.
Yeah.
That's how they do it there. Just to see
Right,
if there's a different spin on it or an easier way or
right. Well, Matt, so he supervises a fabrication shop, and so he's researching tools on YouTube. He's like,
yep.
Hey, I think we need to invest in whatever this tool or piece of equipment is. I've watched a few videos, whether the fencing or somewhat fabrication related. I think we could use this. I watched them use it. I think we could apply that in our shop.
I do it all the time. These guys out there have done all the research that I don't have time to do. So I look for you guys out there that do the things on the tools, and they've been through it. And here's advice: don't try to make things anymore.
Right. Well, so that's a fairly decent conversation to have in that. So and again, ozfence.store, we also sell tools.
Right.
And so one of the conversations was, well, I make a tool just like that. Why? Like, people message the business page, all sorts of stuff. But one guy was very adamant that we should not be selling tools because people should make their own tools. Well,
no,
I mean, you can.
You
absolutely can.
I don't discourage it, but
if you don't want to, and
for somebody like me, I screw it up every time. I spend more money trying to make it than it would be to just buy it.
Yeah. Can it be made more economically? Right. And what is your time worth? What time would you spend making this thing rather than buying it? We ship it. You have it 2 days later.
And you could spend your time doing something more productive versus trying to do this.
Right. Yeah. What is the opportunity cost?
Right.
Yeah. Could you be doing something more productive and making more money than what it cost you to build the tool too?
Right. I walked by your tools and I was like, whoa, slow down. Let me see what do we got in here.
Yeah. And that's an area that we've kind of highlighted that we're going to be emphasizing more on the store is tools that we use. We're going to be doing a video on the bear hold stretcher we use out in the shop. The guys are using it on panels. And they're like,
order one.
Like, we need to tell people about this. This is a good one. Like,
it's awesome.
All right. Yeah. Let's talk to them about it. But anyway, can you make the tools? Yes, sure absolutely. But is
what extent?
Yep. And is there a more efficient way? Anyway,
there's guys. If you have the equipment and the feel, I mean, awesome. I'll buy one from you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And but sometimes there's guys that can't or don't have the time or don't have the resource, whatever the reason, or like you said, their time is best spent elsewhere.
Right.
That would rather just buy it and have it shipped.
I'm a fence builder. I'm not a
tool maker.
I'm not a tool maker, Yeah. I'll leave it at that.
Absolutely. Roger says, this stuff is the gold I need. Love the motivation and scared. As a scaredy cat, it's great. Roger, I think it is a benefit to have some of that, right?
Absolutely.
To have some of the pessimism to offset some of the optimism. If you were all go and no wait, all gas, no brake and all that.
That's me.
You'd probably run off a few cliffs.
Thank God for my guys. They slow me down all the time. They're like, take a step back.
Ben had that point a couple times yesterday.
He did. Yeah, he did.
Yeah. He's like, I saw him a few times. He's like, you need to hear this. Like, are you listening?
Yep.
But here's the thing is it all comes from experience, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've run off my share of cliffs.
I'm sure.
I've got some losses in my history, but if we can help you miss a few of the potholes and not run off some of the cliffs. Anyway, I say all that to say, Roger, it's not a detriment to have a little bit. You call it scaredy cat. I call it realistic, pessimism. Absolutely. Like you need some of that.
Yep. You do need a little bit.
All right. Beef day. That's what we're calling it. Beef day. Well, that's what Matt calls it. So we are calling it, we should just call it Matt Warner's Beef Day. And then, well, no, we're actually not going to call it that.
Yeah,
that's not a great spin on that.
No, let's think something else.
And homage to Matt, where people come through like, who? Like, you got to meet Matt. Like, he's got some doozy of ideas. They are all winners for sure. Speaking of Candace, hello, Candace. Candace is our retail wholesale rock star.
She is a rock star.
And not only retail wholesale, she also holds kind of the front office together up there too. She's the first line or the first face people see. I was gonna say first line of defense. Like, well, not much defense up there, but she's the first person people meet when they walk in the door.
I was talking to Scott and said something, and I'm like, sometimes I'm just scared of it. And she's like, she didn't even skip a beat. She was just walking by. She's like, that's one of the biggest failures is being scared. She's like, don't be scared.
Yeah. So Candace is a go-getter.
She was right on it.
She's not scared of much.
Nope.
She's not scared of much. But, she
said fear. Is what she said. She's like, fear is the biggest loser. Yeah. She's like, don't be scared.
Absolutely. So Candace, like I said, Candace is one of our rock stars. Speaking of rock stars, they're all showing up. Sarah says, new artwork for the ideas. WWMWD.
What would Matt Warner
do?
Oh, there we go.
We are going to make this happen. We are going to make this. I bet
we're stealing that phrase.
We are. So, like right back here, maybe. How can I do this? Yeah, right back here somewhere. That right there, maybe. There we go. Okay.
What would Matt Warner do?
OG Lager. So this is Matt. Matt's with us. So Matt says, great show, guys. It was good to have you and Benjamin hang yesterday.
Thank you. Great. Yeah, thank you.
This is a fair point, though, Jason, in that I really feel we get just as much out of these trips as you guys do. I really, really do. Kevin and I had this conversation, and I'm going to have this conversation with you now, that I appreciate you guys coming out because it also gives us an alternate perspective.
Right.
You know what I mean? So there's a thing in the medical community. You watch one, you do one, you teach one to show proficiency. You have to be able to teach the thing to say you are proficient at it.
Right.
It makes you think about it a little bit differently.
It does. And this was a huge experience for me. I mean, it was like Disneyland for me. I know it sounds silly, but I was so excited. And it's something I'm passionate about, and, that I want to succeed and do better. And you guys showed me a lot, and they were so welcoming and so helpful. I mean, it was awesome. It really was. It was awesome.
Well, and that's why we keep doing this, right? So that knowing that we have an impact makes us try harder.
Yeah, please don't stop. Let other people, man. I encourage you guys to get
Sarah says, so great to meet you, Jason. Next time I'm coming to visit you guys.
Come on out, Sarah.
Yeah, that
not a problem.
Don't tell her that, because she will. She will leave tomorrow.
I've got horses. I got plenty of shooting grounds. We shoot some clay pigeons.
Now she's gone.
She's already in.
Like now she is booking her ticket as we speak. I have a feeling.
She's starting a list of what she needs to do to get there.
Right. You said horses and shooting, and it's in Colorado, so
she's on her way.
You hit all the keywords.
Bingo. You're more than welcome to come out.
Guys, we are so close. We are 2 hours and 15 minutes. I told
you
it goes in a hurry.
Good Lord.
We got 15 minutes left, and I've got a pretty hard out. So today, my family is celebrating my extended family. My parents are celebrating Easter today. So we got pretty hard out, and you got a little bit of road ahead of you to get back home.
I got quite the drive to do.
Absolutely. So anyway, 15 minutes. If you guys have any last minute questions, comments, etc., drop those in the comments below. Yeah, see, this is what I knew it. She's going to beat you there. She's going to be waiting for you when you guys get there. She's like, hey, took you guys long enough. How are you? I just made myself at home.
Plenty of room for you.
Went ahead and rode your horses for a little bit, so they're fine. I brushed them down. And anyway, so Jason, let me ask you. So sometimes we get questions when we're running. So we'll be running a new contest, I believe, starting next month. I think we open it up. So we get questions about, is this for me? What to expect, that sort of thing. If you were to give a synopsis to someone that's never been of kind of what this is, what would it be?
Man, I was expecting something totally different. I really didn't know what I was expecting, but this was more of a, it was a learning. It was, I couldn't write fast enough. I was trying to take in so much, and I wish I had longer, Joe. What you're doing is phenomenal. It's such a help, and to these guys, what to expect when they come here, it can go any which way. You're here to tailor to what we need or what we're wanting or to get from it. So I really can't tell you because it can go one way or another. You're here to tailor to the person coming in. So you latched on to what you asked me. You're like, what do you need?
Yeah.
Shoot away, ask away. Come on.
Well, that's fair. So, and I say that, so Kevin's experience was similar, but different.
It was totally different.
Right. So Kevin and I sat down and I said, hey, what are your goals? What areas can we help in? What areas, do you have questions about? And so he met he met with a lot of the same people, really, but the conversations were different.
Totally different.
Because
different
he was
area.
in a different area.
Yep.
So he had worked for a fencing company, but recently he gone out on his own before, worked for a different company. He's going out on himself again. So he's just like in a different stage of life in the business, right? So, you're obviously have been doing it several years, so you're a bit further down that road.
But I wasn't. You know what I mean? I was so confused. I was just riding the train.
Yeah.
At least I got some vision now to where I need to focus, or your procedures, like we said, not going to always work, but at least I have a direction to head in.
Sure.
I got quite a lot of questions answered that I had no idea. I just really didn't. And there's things that you can't just search YouTube for.
Right.
Or you can't, there's no proper answer sometimes.
Well, right. So, and you could have a question and we'll say, well, here's our version of the answer and things like, and then you ask a follow-up question. So it's hard to have that kind of content for YouTube because you really need the follow-up questions or the clarifying. Like we could say, well, here's how we do it. And then you say, well, actually what I meant was that, you know what I mean? The conversation's kind of go sideways a little bit.
It can turn, just because we're there for the same reason doesn't mean we're there for the same stuff.
Sure. So I guess that's a fair point in that, if what you've heard doesn't really match what you're looking for, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't apply, right? No. That we can kind of tailor this to, we had, like I said, we'll have a conversation beforehand and talk about, what are your goals? What are the first 5 things you'd like to learn right off the bat? So we can get those out of the way.
Just don't be afraid to ask the right question, because there's nothing silly to be asked. I mean, that was Roger's question. I shot from the hip with you. I was just like this and this and this, and you're like, whoa. You're like, right. Back it up a little bit.
Well, or I think I hear a common thread in these questions, like a common category. So let's talk about that for a little bit, sort of thing.
Right.
Really, what I want it to be, and what it sounds like we achieved it, is like a full immersion, right? Like I want you to immerse yourself in this business and really ask, I want you to see what we do and then ask questions about it, sort of thing, to see if we can apply to what you do.
And it was perfect. I mean, seriously, Joe. I mean, it was correct. It was like, brought me in, you showed me around, and you were like, saw which way I was leaning, you saw which person I was, leaning towards, and you're like,
let's get you guys together.
Let's get you hooked up and ask away. And I mean, it was nice. It was a learning experience, and I learned a lot, and I'm going to try to implement a lot of things and see if they work. And sorry, but you're going to get a couple phone calls, a couple texts from me.
I love it. Like I said, Kevin and I stayed in constant contact, and I look forward to doing that with you as well.
I appreciate
to keep up to date with, because I've been in some of these trainings where I'll come home and I'll have an idea how I'm going to implement it, and then I try to implement it that way, and it doesn't work how I thought it was going to work.
It's not all that's in your head, so to be able to have another meeting or a question or just to get to know you, get to know you. I mean, that was huge for that reason. I mean, you have a lot of experience. Your family has a lot of experience. You've been through the hoops and the hurdles, and
we've driven off our share of cliffs for sure.
Everything isn't always perfect. And you've been there, and to share your experiences with me, and I mean, it was awesome. Good. It really was.
And so I hope those of you out there watching will kind of take that into consideration when we have another round. Like I said, I believe it opens up next month. We'll make an announcement.
Don't get discouraged if you don't get chosen.
So that's the thing. Look, let's circle back around to that. Like if you applied for the first, you weren't chosen. If you applied to second, weren't chosen, please continue to apply.
Joe, he said to me, he was like, it's incredibly hard to pick just one person. He wanted to take everybody.
Yeah. Literally like I need, and that's what we were talking about. Like I need to figure out a way to bring in 15 people.
He did.
Because exactly I had 15 winners. I'm like, how do we choose one? I don't know.
I know.
But yeah, so just because you weren't chosen doesn't mean that you weren't considered and that you weren't in the running for it. Like I said, there were 15 people in the running for this last one. Please apply again.
Yeah,
really do.
Do. I was very lucky. And I'm very thankful.
Yep. No, you're very welcome. I look forward to keeping track of you and probably have you back on the show virtually. We'll probably reach
anytime
out to do a StreamYard edition of this.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And just kind of maybe do like a 6-month check-in. Hey, how are things going? How's
perfect.
life?
Sounds perfect. And you shout out to me on the show. We watch weekly.
Oh, absolutely.
So
I look forward to seeing you in the chat as well. Guys, it looks like the chat is okay. We don't have any new comments. So if you've got any last minute comments, Let us know. Let's check in with the Facebook interactions. Let's see. So we got some thumbs up and we got some hearts. So let's start with the thumbs up. We've got, so Matt and Mitchell both gave it thumbs up. Now, there's more than 2 people watching this. So there's some people out there that haven't given it a thumbs up but actually, stop. We need to remember this is only on Facebook. That's what we learned like a couple of times ago. So some people are watching. So if you're on YouTube and you give it a thumbs up, it doesn't show here, but we really do appreciate it. It really does help the channel.
Give the thumbs up.
But on Facebook, Matt and Mitchell have both given it a thumbs up. I appreciate you guys a lot.
Thanks, guys.
So obviously we talked about Matt Warner. Mitchell Gregory, met him and his dad. When was it? Stainless steel expert, Standing University.
There you go, Zach.
2 years ago or 3 years ago. Oh, look, Zach Smith. Thank you. Appreciate that. Now let's see who's giving us hearts. Taylor. Thank you. That makes sense.
Perfect sense.
Dan Wheeler, Fencing Industry Podcast. If you guys aren't listening to a podcast, you need to listen to Dan's. He's strong-arming me into making this a podcast, and we are having that conversation right now, Dan. I promise you. Braden has talked to me about this several times. We're going to implement. This week was a bit, as you will see in an upcoming episode of the show. This week was a bit hectic, a little bit crazy. We got a little bit going on. We got some growth happening right now, but it is on the radar. This will become a podcast. Hey guys, one thing too, we've got a poll on the community side of the channel where we're asking. So right now we upload this week's video on Saturday afternoon. I think it's 1:45. Now, one piece of one consistent comment I get back is, well, I work on Saturdays. Totally understandable, because here we are working on Saturdays. Yep. So if someone had posted a video right now, I'd have to watch it tonight or tomorrow. So we're asking the community, would you rather these uploads be on Saturday or Sunday? Right. So would you rather watch it on, if we upload it on Sunday, full transparency, day one watches are a big part of the algorithm. Right. So if it came out today and I watched it tomorrow, it doesn't impact the algorithm as much as if it came out today and I watched it today. So we're trying to gauge a little interest. If it came out on Sundays, would you watch it day one? That sort of thing. So
I think Sundays you'd be more up to people being around it.
I think so.
More of a day off.
That's kind of what we're thinking. That's what.
Don't get me wrong. When it comes out, I'm all over it, no matter what day it is.
I appreciate that a lot. I really do. So guys, go check out the poll in the community tabs of the channel. It's literally you choose Saturday or Sunday. Those are the options.
Vote it.
We're also talking about bringing out additional pieces of content. So like I said, the style of the channel, the format of the channel is changing to more of a vlog, week in review type look. But we're also talking about keeping the regular content coming as well. I mean, you guys have enjoyed watching that for the last, I think we've been doing this 3 years or something. So that style of content obviously is something you guys like watching. The review videos, the My Fence Story videos, all of that.
Watch those.
So we're thinking about having those come out like midweek, like a Tuesday or a Wednesday, and then have the vlog style content come out on either Saturday or Sunday. Keep an eye out for that. Let us know what you'd like to watch for that. Perfect. Oh, look, here you go. Ben says, I had a great time and a great experience. Thanks to Joe, his family, employees. Forever grateful. Ben, I appreciate it. I appreciate you for sure.
Hope you're feeling better, buddy.
I hope you're feeling better. Really, right in front of Ben's a little under the weather.
Okay.
And right in front of a 10, 11-hour trip, not great.
Not good.
So I hope you're feeling better for sure. Well, guys, we're right at that 2.5 hour mark. I went this entire time without talking about Stainless Steel Experts, and I apologize because they are our live stream sponsor. Guys, seriously. I mean, so we talked a little bit about the stain yesterday. And one of the things I wanted to emphasize to you and to everyone at home is we love Stainless Steel Experts long before they were a sponsor, right? And
we had a big conversation about
they're a
this.
sponsor because we enjoy them, right? And we enjoy the product, but also more than that, we enjoy the people.
I got to reach out to Caleb.
You need to. I mean, Caleb and Ashley are both the whole family there. And I say family, like they're kind of like us, where the whole team is really a family, right? Where whether it's Christian or whether it's Bam Bam or whether it's Ashley, this is a problem with naming people is you forget somebody. I apologize. The whole Stainless Steel Expert family, you reach out to any of them and they bend over backwards to make sure you're taken care of. And so that's why when we started talking about taking on sponsors for the channel, I was like, the first person we're going to talk to is Caleb, or first people are Caleb and Ashley, to see if they'll come on, because it's someone that I feel like they impacted our business tremendously by putting out a product that I felt safe working with. And more importantly, I felt safe putting our team members in contact with.
That's very important.
And our clients, pets, kids, that sort of thing.
The direction I'm looking to go is the ceiling, the staging and
health and safety is huge.
Yeah,
especially out there with you guys.
They're so conscious of that stuff out by us.
Yeah.
Everybody is gluten free and this safe and that's safe and this safe.
Right.
And
there's a lot of awareness out there, for sure.
Yes.
The biggest thing I can say about the product is it's available for sale in California. And if you can make it in California, you can make it anywhere.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure everything's going to kill you in California.
Right. There are regulations about regulations out in California.
And there's labels about labels.
Isn't that the truth? Like, listen, so this is the whole thing. I've got a whole thing about CCA. CCA is a treatment for pine. I think it was great. And we've got pine that was treated with CCA that's still in the ground today. It was a great preservative. But there was a study done, probably in California, where they're like, if a kid licked their hand and ran it across the board and licked their hand again, like 100 times a day, 100 days a year, 100 years, whatever, they have a 0.something% chance of an increased risk of cancer or something to that effect. So we're going to outlaw CCA.
No comment.
My dad's point was, well, it sounds like you should just have rough sawn pine then. So the first time they licked their hand and ran it across, like a handful of splinters, they wouldn't lick it anymore. That seems like a reasonable thing to me. But anyway, so
teach your kid to quit licking boards.
Right. Yeah, maybe we got a bigger problem here. If your kid's licking fences, maybe. Anyway, but the point being, if you can buy the state of California, it's probably pretty good stuff.
It's got to be good
stuff. It's stuff like I said, I feel comfortable, putting my team members, I've got our fence at home is staying. Actually, we're going to do a maintenance coat on it next week. So
I got to see the colors. It's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
It really is. I can't say enough good things, and not because they're a sponsor. They're a sponsor because I really like working with them. So
I'm going to get a hold of Caleb.
If you guys are looking for their contact information, is in the description below. If you're watching on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook or LinkedIn, it should be the first comment. So check out Standing Still Experts for sure. Guys, we got one more comment. Roger echoes the sentiment. Great show, guys. Welcome to the Fence Fam, Jason.
Thanks, Roger. Appreciate it.
Guys, appreciate you tuning in. I had an absolute great time once again. Jason, I had a great time hosting you and Ben. I really appreciate
thank you so much. Thank you to your family, your crew. Braden, thank you. Fabulous. Fantastic. It was a great time. I really appreciate it.
Good. Guys, until next time. Now, there will not be a show next week. So next week, if you're in the Northeast, I will be speaking at the Kasserk Distributions one-day event. So if you're in the Northeast, it's in the Philadelphia area, just outside Philadelphia, come check us out. Caleb and I will be speaking. There'll be some different vendors there. Basically I'm going to talk about marketing. That's what I really enjoy. But if you're in the Northeast, come check us out at Kasserk. But I say all that to say we will not be having a live stream tomorrow or next week. Saturday, I'll actually be traveling home so that I can be with my wife and my mom on Mother's Day.
Very nice.
So I will see you guys, I believe, in 2 weeks. I believe that's right. I'll see you guys in 2 weeks. Until next time, Joe Everest, the fence expert, reminding you that good fences make good neighbors.
See you guys.